those years as a superhero in Marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1026, The True Culprit Who Destroyed the World. I became famous at a young age and was nominated for the Best Supporting Actor Oscar at the age of 19. This is a goal that many people struggle to achieve in their entire lives. In Beverly Hills, Los Angeles, Leonardo, wearing a gray t-shirt, large beach pants and flip-flops, and looking like a decadent and greasy middle-aged uncle, was drunk and seemed to be talking to himself. In fact, he was not talking to himself. There was a small recorder in front of him recording his words. In the following years, my acting career began to reach its peak step by step. I must admit that taking on the role of Titanic was the most correct decision I made in my life, but it was also the most wrong decision. I say it was correct because this movie made me famous all over the world. Even when I went to explore the Brazilian rainforest, the local natives could recognize me. Burp. Leonardo burped when he said this. It made me famous, but it also cut off my path to the highest award in my acting career. Yes, the Oscar judges discriminate against actors like me who act in commercial blockbusters. They just like to see those big stars being tortured repeatedly in movies. And as long as you star in a mainstream commercial blockbuster like this, those stubborn old guys will remember you for a lifetime, label you as an idle actor with no acting skills, and never give you a chance to take it off. And even though I made a lot of money and was very famous, I could never get the award I wanted the most, the Oscar statuette. You know, I've been nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in 1994. That was in 1994. And to win the Oscar for Best Actor, I worked hard for more than 20 years. Leonardo took a big gulp of vodka, and he looked even drunker. In order to get this award, I kept torturing myself. I got fat and thin and fat again. I endured the inhuman torture of filming various movies again and again. Finally, I finally got what I dreamed of. It took me 20 years. Leonardo said as he picked up a golden trophy from his coffee table. This is the symbol of the highest honor for film actors around the world, the Oscar statuette. Leonardo's performance in The Revenant finally won him the Best Actor award. Leonardo drank too much? He took the trophy in his hand and hugged it into his arms and cried bitterly. The fat on his belly was squeezed into a circle of Shar-Pei dog-like shapes. Woo woo woo, I finally got the Oscar. God, I finally got the Oscar. Leonardo cried like a tearful man, and big tears flowed across his greasy face. How much I suffered. But I finally got it. After saying these words, Leonardo put the trophy in front of his eyes and looked at it carefully for a while. Then he hugged the trophy and started crying loudly. But I just got the trophy not long ago. Why did the aliens come and attack the Earth? I am an Oscar winner, and I have only been an Oscar winner for more than a year. Why do I have to face such a thing? Leonardo couldn't accept the reality. I haven't performed more works in the history of movies that are enough to make me famous. Also, I haven't dated many of the new Victoria's Secret supermodels this year. How can I die like this? Woo woo woo, Leonardo cried very sadly. However, as an Oscar winner, Leonardo's mentality is actually much better than that of ordinary people. Before the end of the Saturn battle, he had adjusted his state. He went to the bathroom to wash his face to calm himself down and sober up. After that, he played with a recorder he had just recorded, and Leonardo continued to mutter, well, I have to write down the words just now. I must write them down, if aliens invade the Earth later. I want to bury all of these and leave them to future generations. Leonardo is such an excellent actor. After processing the previous audio recordings, Leonardo returned to his room and found a decent suit to change into. Well, damn. It seems that the waist of the shirt is 1 centimeter less, and I feel that my stomach is a bit tight. He put on the shirt with difficulty. Fortunately, the size of the pants is okay, but the crotch is a bit tight. I can't use force later, otherwise it will open. He put on the pants smoothly. Fortunately, it can be matched with a casual suit. It's looser and won't make me feel so uncomfortable. At least the jacket is still very comfortable. After giving himself a hairstyle, he applied some hairspray, and finally put on a pair of beautiful black leather shoes. The image of the originally greasy middle-aged man instantly became handsome. I'm going to take some more portraits, and then bury these photos, the trophies I won, the recording just now, and my outstanding performances underground. I hope that someone can find them later, just like we found the Code of Hammurabi. Well, I'm also going to prepare a sealed box made of titanium alloy. In order to prevent his reputation from being completely destroyed along with the invasion of the external appearance, Leonardo took good care. He was busy all day and didn't even have time to check his favorite mobile phone. The only thing he thought about now was how to make his reputation immortal. When Tony Stark, who also lives in Los Angeles, approached him, Tony lives in Malibu Coast, Los Angeles. Leonardo was shooting a doomsday video to introduce the crisis facing the Earth now. And it showed the last mentality of the Earthlings before the catastrophe. It can be said that this performance was the peak of his life, far exceeding the average performance of Oscar winners. Robert Downey Jr.? You need to knock on the door to get permission when you enter. Did your father teach you basic manners? Leonardo was a little surprised when Tony Stark suddenly appeared at his house. He thought the visitor was Downey, who lived next door. Downey made a comeback after starring in Iron Man. With a rising tide, he could afford a mansion in Beverly Hills and became Leonardo's neighbor. I'm not Robert Downey Jr. Tony Stark shook his head helplessly. Because of the release of Iron Man, many people can't tell the difference between him and Downey now. This is also due to the excellent makeup technology of Hollywood. I'm Tony Stark. Tony didn't waste any words. He stated his identity and purpose directly. Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio, I need your help with an important matter. Donnie, your acting skills are getting better and better. Or are you really addicted to the role of Tony and can't get out of it? Give up. The other party is the real Iron Man. He must be busy with a group of scientists now, busy calculating how to save the Earth and the world. How can he have time to come to me? Leonardo simply ignored Tony after saying this, and he continued to perform his last performance in front of the camera. Tony took a long breath, patted his watch and said, Jarvis, put on armor. Tony's seemingly normal smartwatch instantly turned into black liquid and crawled all over his body. It only took 1/10 of a second, and the black and gold nano armor was already put on. Tony Stark, who was originally a head shorter than Leonardo, became a head taller than Leonardo after putting on the armor. He looked down at Leonardo and said, Do you believe it now, Mr. DiCaprio? I am indeed Tony Stark, Iron Man himself. Startled by the sudden appearance of Iron Man, Leonardo even forgot to continue his performance. He asked in a puzzled tone, You are the real Tony Stark? Why did you appear here? Aren't you supposed to save the world? Yes, I am saving the world, so I am here. Tony nodded. Leonardo? Because we now suspect that your figure and appearance may be one of the culprits who destroyed the Earth. So come with me. Iron Man said. And Leonardo? Exclamation mark. Chapter 1027. Thank you for your hard work. No matter how Leonardo struggled, he was finally taken away by Iron Man Tony Stark. And he used a very righteous statement, because your image may endanger the Earth and even the entire human civilization. Leonardo was very confused about this statement. He had no idea what was going on. He was just dragged away by Tony and had no power to resist. On the other side, in the laboratory of Stark Industries, a bunch of X-Beauty potions that have not yet been launched on the market have been prepared. Just waiting to be injected into Leonardo. Li Ji has received Tony's message, and the message came that Leonardo has been successfully captured and is ready to be evolved. Li Ji sighed and replied, Evolution must be successful. So far, Li Ji can finally reply to Star-Lord, You can tell Captain Eleni that we will arrange for her to meet Leonardo. But that fat man with the water gun. Star-Lord Quill didn't finish his words, but Li Ji understood what he meant, and Star-Lord was still a little worried. Li Ji had to give Star-Lord some confidence. Don't worry, we will transform him. Even if we have to play the role of a villain this time, there is no other way to force Leonardo to accept the transformation. For the future of the Earth and mankind, someone has to sacrifice. Of course, please tell Captain Eleni. Although we can arrange for Leonardo to meet her, we are not pimps, do you understand? We do not support anything that goes beyond the line. Whether she can hook up with Leonardo depends on herself. Star-Lord Quill understood Li Ji's statement very well, and he nodded, Don't worry. Eleni is just a fan. I think the most she wants is an autograph or a photo. If she asks for more, she will violate the rules of the Nova Corps. The Nova Corps stipulates that the 500 members who become Nova Warriors, those with Nova helmets, are not allowed to fall in love and get married after becoming Nova Warriors unless they have already established a relationship before becoming Nova. If you want to get married and have children, you must quit the Nova Corps, said Star-Lord Quill. This is also a means of control for the Nova Corps, fearing the emergence of aristocratic factions within the Corps. Powerful power cannot be passed down from generation to generation. It also ensures that people regularly leave the Corps and fresh blood enters. If anyone violates this rule, it should be Sam's father. But that was caused by many complicated reasons. For Li Ji and the Illuminati, another crisis that could endanger the safety of the Earth has been properly handled. Leonardo has now been carried into the laboratory in Tony Stark's villa in Los Angeles. Pepper, holding her infant daughter, looked at Tony in surprise. What are you doing? Wait a minute. This is Leonardo. Yes, that's him. Tony, wearing black and gold armor, took off his mask and made a face at his daughter, but the little girl cried out in fear. Pepper pushed Tony's grimace aside, then pointed at Leonardo, who was tied up by Tony with the ropes, and said, "Why did you bring him here?" "He said he wanted me to save the world." Leonardo interrupted, "Come on, Mrs. Stark. Your husband is crazy. I'm just an actor, just an actor. My most famous role is playing a love-struck teenager. I haven't even played a hero movie. How can I save the world?" "Shut up." Tony interrupted Leonardo, "I said you can save the world, and you can." "Huh." Pepper shook his head. "What are you playing, Tony?" "What a superhero should do." Tony answered truthfully. "Including kidnapping an Oscar winner." Leonardo interrupted again. "I told you to shut up." Tony had an expression that said, "If you say more, I'll cut you. It's not good to be a human trafficker, Tony." Pepper looked at Leonardo and said to Tony, "Besides getting fat, Leonardo has done nothing wrong in recent years." "Hey, it's really not my fault that he got fat, Mom." Leonardo said unconvinced. "That's because the old men on the committee won't give the Oscar for Best Actor to a handsome guy." "I told you to shut up." Tony picked Leonardo up again and put him on the operating table. Then he said to Pepper seriously, "You're right, dear. The most wrong thing Leonardo has done in recent years is getting fat." Pepper and Tony seemed to have reached a consensus on this point. Leonardo still refused to accept it. But he couldn't refuse to accept it, because he was more worried about what Tony was going to do to him. "Oh, listen, Mr. Stark. We shouldn't have any deep hatred, right? Although we both fell in love with the same model at the Victoria's Secret fashion show before, and I got her in the end, but it's no big deal, right? Didn't you hook up with several other models later?" Leonardo tried hard to recall what happened between him and Tony. What he said made Pepper look at Tony with raised eyebrows. Tony opened his mouth. "Up, honey. I promise you. What he said are all the shitty things that happened before we confirmed our relationship. And these shitty things will definitely not happen after that." "Then shut up." Tony yelled at Leonardo fiercely. Okay. I don't want to care about those old shitty things. But what do you want to do to Leonardo?" Pepper didn't seem to want to talk about Tony's past romantic affairs in detail. Tony let out a long sigh and said, "Well, it's a good thing. At least it's a good thing for Leonardo. I want to make him look like he used to be when he played Jack the Ship." "What?" "No." Pepper and Leonardo showed completely different attitudes. Pepper looked interested. "Really? Wow, that sounds great." Terrible. "Please no." Leonardo resisted. "I finally transformed into a tough guy. You can't make me do it all over again. I don't want to be an idol." "Well, don't worry. It won't be an idol. I still need your acting skills this time, Mr. DiCaprio." Tony ignored Leonardo's protest. "Don't worry, it's not a big deal. It just makes you younger and more handsome. You should be happy that you can continue to be popular among girls all over the world for 20 years. And this time, your transformation is not only for yourself, but also to save countless innocent people on Earth. So, accept it obediently. I will compensate you later." Leonardo felt terrible listening to Tony Stark saying these lines, as if a villain was deceiving an ignorant girl. And damn it, as an ignorant girl, he didn't have the power to resist. "Whether you are willing to cooperate with us or not, there is at least one thing. You can't exist in this greasy state, at least not this time. So I'm sorry, Mr. DiCaprio. This time for the Earth." After saying this, Tony pressed the switch. Leonardo could only watch Tony operate various instruments and slowly inject various drugs into his body. On the other side, Captain Rogers and Nick Fury had already told the leaders of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council about the existence of the Inhumans. Now is the time to invite the Inhumans, who have been hiding behind the Earth civilization for so many years and have not appeared on the stage, to the stage. How can we believe in the existence of the Inhumans? Although there are space battleships, this is still too unbelievable. The French president was still a little bit unbelievable. In response to the president's question, Captain Rogers replied, "It's very simple. I have persuaded the Inhumans to let them sail their space city Adelan to the lunar orbit." Chapter 1028. This is another war. This time, the Chitauri attack caused a huge wave of waves around the world. The biggest wave of waves is that all the people on Earth understand one thing, that is, how dangerous this universe is. We are not the only intelligent creatures in this universe, and not all intelligent creatures are kind. Not all aliens are friendly like a classic alien movie character, or Uncle Martin of Mars, another classic alien movie character. Some aliens are as bad as goblins, which are very disgusting creatures. Just like the group of messiahs who were captured by Li Ji and others. And many things happened in this turmoil, including social unrest. There are also riots that emerged all over the world during the turmoil. The emergence of riots is not surprising. There will always be people who take advantage of the turmoil to rob. This is normal in any era. What is really surprising is the heroes who stand up in these critical moments. Just take New York as an example. The Justice League led by Kick-Ass David became a key force to help the New York police in this riot. It is not just to eliminate various security problems. What is more important is a group of ordinary people or people with only a few special abilities, what they did when they gathered together. They set an example. A character who should give up hope in a desperate situation. This inspired many people, such as the community of Li Ji's family. His father Li En and Parker's uncle Ben called on the neighbors in the community to form a neighborhood mutual aid alliance. Everyone patrolled the community voluntarily, leaving no opportunity for other bad guys who wanted to attack the community. This time, various folk hero organizations all over the United States have sprung up like mushrooms after rain. For example, an organization called the Great Lakes Avengers appeared in the Great Lakes region. For example, a group of mutants in the UK spontaneously formed a hero organization called 198, and so on. The formation of these hero groups may be just a small episode for the Chitauri invasion. Because among the people selected as the first batch of space warriors on Earth, there are many who want to make radical actions. For example, after knowing that Messiah led the Chitauri to invade in a planned manner instead of a meteor shower hitting the Earth, he once thought about finding a way to snipe the other party, including using the Ark spacecraft to carry nuclear weapons for suicide attacks. Fortunately, Jonathan, who had not been mutated by cosmic rays and turned into the Human Torch, calmed everyone down. Because he had received a message from Captain Rogers and knew that Captain Rogers had a solution to solve the crisis. After that, the Battle of Saturn started, and everyone was surprised. This was the first time that humans had seen a cosmic battle, and after that, all the first members of the SWORD, including Kurno, suddenly felt that the significance of their existence had become very low. Because according to their training model, they would become excellent mecha pilots, at most the second Iron Man. And the second Iron Man was still very empty, because they did not have the wisdom of Tony Stark and could not make armor and upgrade armor by themselves. In a cosmic war, are only 50 such mecha pilots really useful? And where did the other fleet that sniped the Chitauri fleet come from? Are they enemies or friends? All this is still unknown. The shadow of all this not only cast a shadow on the hearts of the first batch of cosmic warriors of the SWORD, but also on the hearts of all Earthlings. The Battle of Saturn was over, and the Chitauri were wiped out. Two fleets that suddenly appeared fought a sniper war. Who do these two fleets belong to? Where do they come from? Where are they going? What happened? What is their attitude towards the Earth? All of this is unknown. At the moment when everyone was confused, Steve Rogers, as the director of the SWORD, had to do a global TV broadcast. He needed to explain everything and needed to twist the Earth civilization on this day. Because no matter what, the Earth civilization is now close to entering the interstellar era. You can't be soft at this time. Just when Captain Rogers was doing a global live broadcast to the Earthlings to explain the existence of aliens, The Nova Corps fleet that came to help was temporarily arranged by the Illuminati in the Defender starport, which was the starport that hosted Star-Lord and his team last time. This time, the Nova Corps dispatched thousands of people, and the Defender starport could still accommodate them. Since the last time they hosted Star-Lord and his team, and Li Ji considered culturally invading the Nova Corps, he sent construction robots to make a major transformation of the entire Defender starport. The original Defender starport, as the name implies, should be an armed starport used to defend the solar system. Now, this armed starport has been completely transformed. This will be the bridgehead for receiving alien civilizations in the future. Li Ji said to the legendary blacksmith Magneto at the time, "We should set up the best things here to entertain alien friends, including the Nova Corps. Including the best food, the best wine, various entertainment facilities, and various spas, etc. It's best to make them not want to leave after they come." Li Ji proposed this idea. Magneto snorted, "Then why don't you just change this place to the same setting as Caesar's Palace Casino? Let them be happy and forget about their home." "Well, good idea. I think we can do this. We will do it according to the model of those top casinos in Las Vegas. I want the alien civilization that comes here to fall in love with this place completely after staying for 3 days. And be willing to sacrifice their lives to protect this beautiful place." Li Ji has his own ambitions. Magneto frowned at Li Ji's words. "Are you serious? You want a group of aliens to protect the Earth? Why? Why?" Li Ji smiled. "Just based on the novels that are still being serialized, the comics that the author is addicted to playing mahjong in updates every year, the games that are released every year, and all kinds of food. We want to set this place up as a place where even a fool can have fun. So Magneto, I need your power. Use your legendary blacksmith power to transform this place into a cosmic paradise." Magneto was unshakable in the face of Li Ji's flattery. He just frowned and asked, "What power did you just talk about?" "The power of electricity and magnetism." Li Ji looked serious and said it as if it were true. "It's crazy. Is there really someone who would protect the Earth civilization for some fun things? It's crazy." Magneto shook his head and he was skeptical about it. However, Magneto finally transformed the entire starport according to Li Ji's idea. And today is to test whether these transformation projects can work. Li Ji looked at the screen of the tablet computer in his hand. Captain Rogers was talking on the screen. "Inhumans have existed for many years. This time they stood up and fought for the Earth. We should give them affirmation." The live broadcast continued, but Li Ji stopped watching. Because the spaceships of the Nova Corps were getting closer and closer, and began to dock under the guidance of the navigation ship. Today, the Nova Corps who went to help will face the first round of sugar-coated bullets from the Earthling Nightwalkers. Whether they can defeat the Nova Corps in an instant and corrode its interior, success or failure depends on this one move. Everyone has his own fighting position. Li Ji glanced at Captain Rogers, who was still broadcasting live, and then turned off the screen. Then he turned on all the switches of all the facilities inside the Defender starport. In an instant, the entire Defender starport exuded a dreamlike atmosphere. "Welcome to Earth, members of the Nova Corps. I am here to welcome you on behalf of the Earth." Li Ji offered his blessings, and the background of his speech was accompanied by soft and dreamy music. Here, another war began. Chapter 1029. Who cares? The Defender Entertainment City Star Harbor opened for business for the first time. As the largest space entertainment facility in the entire solar system, Li Ji prepared the most enthusiastic service of Earth civilization for guests from afar. From the luxury cinema with ultra-high standard configuration, the largest and most comprehensive bar in the solar system, and a buffet bar that provides a variety of food all day long, and a whole theme park area, which includes some animation and movie themes and peripherals in the cultural products that have been exported to the Nova Corps. Of course, there are also the highest standard game rooms, providing them with a variety of Earth video games. Most of them have been translated into the universal language of the Milky Way. There is also a huge reading room, which contains various Earth books translated day and night by the Illuminati bosses, mainly the Intelligent AI Friday, including novels, comics, etc. In the deepest part, a sports venue is also provided for everyone, so that some sports games on the Earth meteor can also be spread. For example, football, basketball, rugby, etc. Because through the information of Star-Lord, Li Ji learned that not all aliens have a heaven-defying physique. Monsters like Drax the Destroyer are always a minority. There are very few civilizations like the Dragon People, so the Dragon People were wiped out by the Skrulls, and the Nova Corps thought it was a pity. Aliens with similar physiques and physical fitness to the Earth actually occupy the majority of the Milky Way. This is also true for most of the Novas. After taking off their helmets, their physical fitness is similar to that of ordinary Earthlings. Generally speaking, if the physical fitness can reach the level of Captain America, it is considered very good among the races in the universe. You should know that the Dark Elves, who are said to have originated from the Dark Ages, are only at the level of Captain America on average. If most races want to achieve a stronger individual quality than Captain America, they must rely on equipment or transformation or physical mutation. So in this case, the sports on Earth are actually very suitable for most aliens to play. Well, yes, at least most humanoid aliens have no problem. As for aliens with 4 hands or 8 feet who want to play football or basketball, it is estimated that the rules must be modified in detail before they can play. What do you think if we promote football and basketball to the whole galaxy? Leegi asked Star-Lord Quill, who was drinking a cup of milk tea, while standing in the box outside the football field. Maybe this is a good idea. I really didn't expect that there are so many people in the Nova Corps who like to play football. Star-Lord pointed to the 22 people running on the field and said, "The Nova Corps or most of the civilizations in the Milky Way that have entered the interstellar era have a completely different positioning of sports from Earth. They always position sports as a kind of training. Do you understand? It's something like the military pentathlon. These sports always emphasize training, challenging limits and stimulating potential. It must be said that the sports within the Nova Corps are very scientific and can stimulate people's potential. But they are also very boring. In the schools of Xander, the most annoying thing for children to do is probably physical education class. That means endless running and pull-ups." Star-Lord shook his head when he said this. These things are completely unentertaining. They exist entirely to torture and train people. Star-Lord said these facts, so the sports on Earth, which are competitive and confrontational, but also very entertaining, are still very attractive. Otherwise, Drax would not have been obsessed with rugby and would crash a steel armor specially made by Tony to play with him every day. So, you can let these Nova warriors who come here to play take all these entertainment activities back. Leegi said very seriously. Then promote these sports. Maybe one day Real Madrid's Galaxy Battleship will really become a real Galaxy Battleship. The next game may appear in a beverage factory in the Milky Way, driving a space battleship with huge banners hanging on it to support Real Madrid's game or something. Leegi seemed to be thinking about these things whimsically. Ha ha ha. Star-Lord imagined what Leegi said, and he couldn't help laughing. As an Earthling, Star-Lord also watched some football games when he was a child. Although he prefers baseball and football. Just when Star-Lord and Leegi were talking happily, thousands of Nova Corps soldiers were reveling in the entire Defender Entertainment City starport. Leegi prepared all kinds of good entertainment for them. As Star-Lord said, all those who came to support the Earth this time were volunteers. They themselves were fans who had received the impact of the Earth Entertainment City, opened by Star-Lord on the planet Xander, and had some vague concepts of Earth entertainment culture. However, the scale of the Earth Entertainment City on the planet Xander is still too small. After all, how much can Star-Lord bring back with just one spaceship last time? In fact, when Star-Lord and his team set out, many things in the food department of Earth Entertainment City were already out of stock. For example, the popular fresh fruit mousse cake and chocolate muffin cake were completely out of stock. The stock of fish-flavored pork rice bowl was also at the red line, and the cheese-fried chicken steak had begun to be limited every day. This made a group of Earth food lovers from Xander complain. In addition, the number of people that the entire entertainment city can accommodate is also limited. It can only accommodate a few hundred people at a time. If there are more people, the service quality will drop rapidly, and the products will not be enough to supply the guests. So this time, these volunteers from the Nova Corps also came with the idea of being able to come to Earth to have fun. After all, it's the place of origin. There will be no limit on the supply of things here, right? Everyone guessed it right. All supplies are open to the Defender Entertainment City starport. For example, the Kung Pao chicken rice bowl and fish-flavored pork rice bowl, which are very popular on Xander, are available here at any time, and fried chicken steaks are always available. A 2-meter-high chocolate waterfall tower has been gushing non-stop, and the entire food department is filled with a faint chocolate fragrance. There are also many foods that Star-Lord did not bring to Xander, such as hundreds of kinds of Cantonese dim sum. There are also roast duck, roast goose, roast suckling pig, etc. that must be made on site and cannot be brought in semi-finished products. The soldiers of the entire Nova Corps were completely immersed in a sea of carnival. Just like when Star-Lord and his team first came to the Defender starport, everyone had the idea of how nice it would be if we could stay here forever. As the highest commander of the Nova Corps Expeditionary Force, Eleni was a little excited today. She took off her military uniform and changed into casual clothes. Eleni is a humanoid alien. If you put aside her slightly lavender skin color, she can be regarded as a beautiful lady in the eyes of Earthlings based on her facial features. Just like Star-Lord's girlfriend Gamora, as long as you can accept her green skin, you will think she is very beautiful. Eleni is looking forward to meeting her idol. Star-Lord and Lee Ji are standing at the entrance of the starport, waiting for the arrival of an important person. Star-Lord, do you think Leonardo will accept it? Lee Ji, who cares? He won't suffer any loss. Star-Lord, you said we don't need to worry about Leonardo's body shape. Did you make changes to him? Did he agree? Lee Ji, who cares? We will compensate him anyway. Star-Lord. Chapter 1030. Everything is under control. Once upon a time, there was a man who drove a big ship into the hearts of every girl. He conquered everyone who had ever seen him with his gorgeous beauty and peerless figure. Every frown and smile touched people's hearts and made people intoxicated. I don't know how many girls have dreamed of meeting their Prince Charming in the middle of the night. When they woke up, they found that their pillows were wet, which was the saliva left by themselves in the dream. Yes, this man is Leonardo DiCaprio, who once conquered both ends of the ocean, from East Africa to Western Europe, South Asia to North America. He made countless girls crazy and countless men hate him. His elf-like peerless face really conquered countless women, men, and also made countless men, women, jealous. However, in recent years, the guys who were extremely beautiful like Leonardo have almost disappeared, and the guys who used to be jealous of his peerless beauty have also begun to change their words and praise Leonardo. What is the reason? Of course, it's because the gorgeous beauty is no longer there. In order to win the Oscar for Best Actor, Leonardo was sad like a 200-pound child every day. Since winning the Oscar for Best Actor, Leonardo has been happy like a 200-pound child every day. It can be said that the label of a 200-pound child can be attached to Leonardo. But today, all this may change. Please, this makes me look like a sissy. In an invisible spaceship, a handsome man like an elf is complaining madly to Tony. I'm already 44 years old, which is the best time for an actor to achieve success. I can play various roles and will not be bound by my image. And I have many advertising endorsements, and they all require me to maintain the appearance of a middle-aged handsome man. I am still negotiating the endorsement contract with Rolex. They need a middle-aged and stable image spokesperson, not a beautiful boy with a melancholy temperament. I said I will compensate you. Tony calmly drove the spaceship and said, X-Beauty Gene Pharmacy will hire you as a global spokesperson. What is the endorsement fee? $500 million for 5 years. Tony offered a high price that was hard to refuse for the elf boy, which made him shut up. The person who was madly complaining to Tony was none other than Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio, who had been transformed by Tony. In order to save the Earth, Tony had to transform Leonardo, and through many unsold products on the X-Beauty product line, Leonardo was brought back to the age of 20. This was the peak period of Leonardo's life. He could fascinate a large number of girls with just a blink of an eye. Leonardo is now wearing a fitted black suit, which is a tight fit that a man with a water gun can never handle. Although his appearance and figure have returned to the peak period of about 20 years old, Leonardo's temperament still maintains the appearance of a 40-year-old man. Leonardo with his temperament is very interesting, because Leonardo had a heavy idol burden when he was young. After all, he is a super handsome guy. When he gets older, Leonardo doesn't care about his appearance and idol burden at all. For example, he can walk on the streets of Beverly Hills in a rustic round-neck t-shirt, beach pants and flip-flops. He bought some things from the convenience store on the corner and carried them home in a plastic bag. And because Leonardo is a serious mobile phone addict, he is always swiping his mobile phone, and he has to swipe it with both hands, so he often doesn't have a plastic bag in his hand. So he might tie the plastic bag to the belt of his beach pants and let the bag shake 3 times with every step. At the same time, because the bag was quite heavy, His beach pants were often pulled down a lot, so the paparazzi could take pictures of the color of his underwear. So in terms of his behavior, the middle-aged fat Leonardo has reached a state of almost doing whatever he wants. And when this kind of lifestyle appears on a young elf boy, it will produce a sharp contrast. How should an elf boy live? He should be very elegant in every move, right? Anyway, Leonardo was like this when he was young. He paid great attention to his appearance and manners, and he also paid attention to his behavior and conversation in private. But now? Anyway, when Luigi and Star-Lord saw Leonardo, he was sleeping on the sofa of the spaceship. One foot was wearing shoes and the other was bare. The shirt that should have been white was stained with yellow from an unknown object. That was because he just said he was hungry, and Tony found a bag of instant curry chicken from the spaceship for him to eat. Facing Luigi and Star-Lord who came to greet him, Tony clapped his hands. Okay, my mission is accomplished. Anyway, I have tried my best. I can get his appearance back. But I can't get his full name back. Leonardo is living too much now. He is no longer the Jack of 20 years ago. He just said that his feet were itchy, so he took off his shoes and picked his feet. He fell asleep right after picking his feet. Tony pointed to Leonardo's bare feet and said, "Anyway, I can't do anything. I used the existence of the Inhumans as an excuse to get him here, and he didn't have any doubts. Anyway, Captain Rogers has explained the situation of the Inhumans in the global live broadcast. Adeline is about to fly to the vicinity of the moon. Everyone on Earth is watching what the Inhumans look like. And one last thing, do you really think that this big man who eats on his clothes and picks his feet can really charm the Centurion of the Nova Corps?" Tony was a little unsure. Star-Lord and Luigi looked at each other and shook their heads. Yes, they forgot the most important point, that is, a person's appearance can be changed back, but the personality can't be changed back. There's nothing we can do about it. The arrow was on the string and had to be shot. Luigi could only bite the bullet and wake up Leonardo and let Star-Lord take him away to meet the guests. At least a broken personality of the idol may still be acceptable to the fans. After all, the beauty is still there, and appearance is justice. Luigi felt a little weak when he said this. Tony asked Luigi, "It's about time to go back to Earth, right? Captain Rogers has revealed the information about the Inhumans. We need to start preparing for the next plan. By the way, how is your plan going?" Luigi smiled. "The Nova Corps corruption plan, everything is under control. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1031 The Era of Change. The world is changing, and the world is changing a little too fast now, so fast that people feel overwhelmed. People often say that the Industrial Revolution was an exciting era, because every day someone stood in the square to announce and promote their new inventions. Countless things that changed people's lives began to emerge from that moment. People of that era witnessed the development of the times and the rise of human civilization. No one knows whether something that will change the world and shock the world will appear in the next second. The era of the Great Revolution is always awe-inspiring. It was a social turning point that countless people accumulated countless wisdom and finally condensed. And now the changes and progress of the world and the social turning points formed are so fast that it is a bit unbearable. As a New York taxi driver and an ordinary mutant, William's first half of his life was very dull, which can be said to be truly dull. There is nothing to boast about in his life, and there is nothing worth noting. Even his awakening of mutant ability is very dull, a glowing finger that can only provide 5 watts of light brightness, and it can only glow in places with light. William doesn't know what this stupid ability is used for besides amusing children. Not only is his personal life boring, he even feels that the whole world is boring. The world seems to be moving forward along a fixed trajectory without any surprises or surprises. If William were to use some high-sounding adjectives, he would probably describe it as class solidification. Yes, class solidification. In this country, it seems that the rich are always rich, the poor are always poor, and the middle class is always the middle class. Although there are occasional changes, the overall feeling has not changed much. Mutants and ordinary people are torn apart, and social contradictions and conflicts continue. Everything is so powerless. As a taxi driver, William feels that he has seen enough. Because the passengers he has carried over the years are all kinds of people, from Wall Street elites and New York Supreme Court judges to gangsters who just came out of nightclubs and look like they are taking drugs. He always sees this: the children of elites are mostly elites, and the children of gangsters, if he can live to marry and have children, are mostly gangsters. Just like the guest he pulled today, a middle-aged man with obvious yellow appearance. He was dressed very smartly, with his hair neatly combed, a proper shirt and trousers, and a pair of beautiful leather shoes. He looked like an elite from Wall Street, and the place he was going to was indeed Wall Street. The radio in the taxi was playing current affairs news, and the gentleman sitting in the back seat was listening attentively. Suddenly he said, "Can you turn up the volume of the radio?" William naturally had no reason to refuse this request from the passenger. He turned up the volume, and the news on the radio became louder. Recently, a life form suspected to be an alien fleet appeared near Saturn, and it vowed to declare war and attack the Earth. Since the declaration of war on the Earth, the whole world has fallen into panic. However, due to the joint efforts of the police, government departments and superheroes, social order has not been greatly damaged. The city has resumed normal operations since the day before yesterday. There was a little rustling sound on the radio. The star war in the Saturn star region also surprised everyone. For a while, we could hardly tell who was in conflict with the goblins, Skrulls. After the war, Captain Rogers even did a global live show. He revealed to us a huge secret hidden on Earth. The remnants of the last civilization have been living in the solar system. And they stood up at the critical moment and helped the Earth overcome difficulties. And now their royal city Adeline is heading towards the moon. It is reported that Captain Rogers has invited Black Bolt, the king of the Inhumans, to come to Earth and to pay friendly visits to various countries on Earth. The following is an entertainment report. After this piece of current affairs news, there was some boring entertainment gossip. William didn't like these entertainment gossips very much, and the passengers in the back row seemed to have little interest, so William turned down the radio. At the same time, he said with emotion, "The world is changing so fast. There are aliens and remnants of the last era. All kinds of strange people and things have come out. Life now seems to be more exaggerated than Hollywood movies. What do you think, sir?" Leanne, who was sitting in the back seat, looked out the window. New York City has now returned to its normal state, and busy people have begun to appear on the streets. Leanne responded to William's words, "But this is also a good thing, isn't it?" "Is it a good thing?" William saw that his passengers were willing to chat, and he also wanted to chat for a while. Because driving a taxi alone is very boring. From various angles, yes. Leanne nodded, "Our world is developing rapidly. I heard that the first super high-speed railway in Eastern Europe has been open to traffic. The new Eastern European Union will be connected into a whole. And China is also stepping up the repair of the super high-speed railway in the direction of Eastern Europe. Eurasian integration is just around the corner, and the day of true global integration will not be far away. The controlled nuclear fusion of helium-3 has begun to be truly put into civilian use. The Stark Group has begun to distribute arc batteries around the world. China's Suran #1 has been officially ignited. The era of efficient, environmentally friendly and economical energy is about to come. We know that there are still many people in this world who do not have enough food to eat and warm clothes to wear. When the cost of energy supply can be reduced again and again, the poverty phenomenon in the whole world will be greatly improved. Turning deserts into fertile fields is no longer a myth. Leanne said this in an expectant tone. When super high-speed railways can easily transport people from all over the world, we can bring together educational resources and those who need education, making education more equitable than ever before. With enough energy, we can eliminate poverty and hunger. With the X potion, we can also break down the barriers between mutants and ordinary people. Whether it's the aliens that appear now or the remnants of the last era, they are just catalysts to accelerate our entry into the interstellar age. We will always move towards this step. Human civilization has entered the era of revolution, no longer an industrial revolution or an information revolution, but an interstellar revolution. Our ecology and everything will change. Leanne said. Stepping into the cosmic age, I am really grateful for my life. I can see such a reform at this age. We are now standing on an important page in history. William had never thought about so many problems like Leanne, so he said admiringly, "Sir, you really think a lot." Leanne smiled. "In fact, many of the things here are what my son told me." "Then your son must be a very remarkable person." Li En did not show any so-called virtue of modesty for William's compliment. He nodded and said, "Yes, he is an extraordinary person. He has invested in this furnace of changing the world in his own way and made contributions in his own way." Li En was talking about the establishment of the superhero comic system by Li Ji after the establishment of Marvel, and gave certain subsidies to superheroes. Let more people be willing to devote themselves to the cause of heroes. My son is indeed a very outstanding person. Although he himself cannot stand on the front line. But he can set an example for one person after another. He uses his own way to add power to this reform. Speaking of Li Ji, Li En is proud in his heart. This is a great era, Mr. Driver. We should not let this era down and work hard. Maybe in 20 years we will have the opportunity to travel to the moon. Li En said with a smile. William smiled. Is it possible? Maybe. Because this is the era of human rise. Li En's words were firm. Chapter 1032 Abnormal. The Inhumans' capital city, Attilan, is getting closer to the moon little by little. Now, the appearance of Attilan can be clearly observed on Earth. As Captain Rogers said, this is a giant city suspended in space. The existence of Attilan is stressful for many people, but it also brings a kind of yearning. Because Li Ji and others attributed the credit of the Saturn War to the Inhumans and Black Bolt. Therefore, the appearance of the Inhumans is acceptable to many people on Earth, and it can even be said that there is some expectation. The remnants of the last civilization, this title sounds quite powerful. And many countries on Earth, including the 5 permanent members of the United Nations, are also ready, because under the arrangement of Captain Rogers, the Inhuman King Black Bolt will launch the first official diplomatic visit to the Earth countries. Your plan really went into effect this time, but it scared a lot of people. In the Stark Industries group building, Tony was smiling and saying this to Li Ji. Are you scared? It's okay. It's just that a group of politicians found that the world suddenly had a powerful force that they couldn't control. Understanding didn't care much about Tony's statement. Li Ji is holding a bottle of Tony's collection of champagne dom and asked, "Can I drink this?" This is a champagne made 5 years ago, when French white grapes were at their best and sweetest. There are only 3 bottles in the world now, and each bottle costs as much as $250,000, Tony said, because the shells of champagne generally have a short shelf life. They will be almost finished in 3 to 5 to 7 years. When Li Ji heard Tony say this, he opened the champagne and poured himself a glass. I mean, you can't drink it. Tony sighed weakly. I was planning to keep it until my daughter turned 1. Li Ji waved his hand. Aren't there 2 more bottles in the world? Just buy them. Now that the X-Beauty pharmacy has begun to be distributed worldwide, are you still afraid that you won't make money or have no money to buy it? When it comes to the X-Beauty pharmacy, Tony is not very happy. Although this pharmacy can indeed help him make a lot of money, it also brings him a name and title that he absolutely does not want. And it can be foreseen that these titles may be crowned on his head for a long time in the future. But if we talk too much about this matter, it will only bring tears, so Tony doesn't want to talk about it anymore. Sometimes life is like this, either you learn to resist, or you can only learn to enjoy it. Tony changed the subject. How is Leonardo? Is he enjoying the moonlight with Captain Eleni in the Defender Casino? But it seems that Leonardo knows how to keep a sense of propriety and has always maintained a friendship. Li Ji took a sip of champagne, which tasted good and was full of the aroma of banknotes. Every sip fully appreciated the essence of capitalism. He has a good control of this relationship, and he really deserves to be an Oscar winner. It was difficult for Tony to tell from Li Ji's words whether he was praising or being sarcastic, so he just took it as a compliment. After all, Leonardo made such a great sacrifice. You know, Tony, I've been thinking about retiring recently. Li Ji said while drinking champagne. Don't look at me like that, I'm serious. I'm really thinking about retiring. After I destroyed the Chitauri fleet, I suddenly had a feeling. It seemed that my mission was over. At that moment, I felt as if I had done everything I should do in my life. Li Ji took a big sip of champagne and spoke incoherently. Tony frowned. What nonsense are you talking about? Our career has just begun. No, I'm not talking nonsense. It's just that I have a feeling in the dark, as if a voice is calling me. It seems that my mission is completed? Or it is completed in stages. Li Ji thought while drinking. This feeling is magical, just like someone whispering in your ear. But there is no sound. Deep in your heart you feel as if you have completed a sacred and glorious mission, And it seems that you don't need to care about the rest. To make an inappropriate analogy, it's like you raised your daughter, watching her grow up little by little, and then becoming more and more beautiful. Then she started dating, and got together with a boy. Hearing this, Tony suddenly had a picture in his mind. He said uncomfortably, "Don't say it." Luigi didn't listen to Tony. He simply picked up the champagne bottle and started blowing into the bottle. After taking a big sip, he continued, "Then she fell in love and got married. In the end, even though you were reluctant, you still sent her away. Let her live her own independent life. At this time, although you are reluctant in your heart, you also vaguely feel that you have completed a mission. Right? Can you understand how I feel now?" Luigi put his hand on Tony's shoulder while talking. Tony pushed Luigi and said, "You seem drunk. You drank too much? I don't think you need to think too much. How old are you to consider retirement? This is not what you should be thinking about now. We still have many important things to do. The super high-speed rail has just started, and new energy has taken the first step. The interstellarization of the Earth has just started. There are also mutants and aliens. We have just seen the dawn of change in these problems. You are talking about retirement now? It's too early," Tony said to Luigi. Luigi did not answer, but just drank champagne in big gulps, as if he particularly liked the taste of this bottle of champagne. "So stop saying stupid things. Are you feeling down recently? I know that scientific research proves that not only women have menstrual periods every month, but men do too. Men during their menstrual periods will feel down, depressed, irritable, etc. At this time, you should go home to find your girlfriend and let her soothe your soul. Then you won't say such stupid things. Go home first, okay?" Bang. Tony didn't hear Luigi's reply, but only heard the sound of Luigi falling heavily to the ground. Luigi fell to the ground, and the bottle of champagne royal in his hand broke into pieces, and the golden wine spilled all over the ground. But now is not the time to feel sorry for the carpet and champagne. Tony immediately ran to Luigi's side. He wanted to make sure that this guy was safe. As if he had a long dream, when Luigi opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was Lan's face that was a little helpless and a little angry. She said unhappily, "You actually got drunk and fell to the ground at Tony's place yesterday. I don't want my boyfriend to be a big alcoholic." Luigi shook his head. "Really? I seem to have just drunk a little bit of Dom Perignon. How come I got drunk?" Luigi felt something was wrong, so he checked his body. But there was nothing wrong with his body. After thinking for a long time, Luigi couldn't remember how he got drunk yesterday, but he just felt that his head seemed a little dizzy. After Lam saw Luigi wake up, she went out to prepare breakfast for Luigi. After lying in bed for a long time, Luigi suddenly thought that he seemed to have not used the system for a long time. Since the last time he collected all the reputations and exchanged for a full set of Purple Thunder swordsmanship to upgrade his strength to a level, he has never opened it again. P.S. There was a profile before Luigi exchanged for all the Purple Thunder swordsmanship. It was at the meeting before the Chitauri battle. The flash of lightning of the thunder of destruction in his hand frightened Thor, and he felt as if he saw Odin. Chapter 1033. The day the system disappeared. When Luigi was about to open and summon the system, he found something wrong. Open the system, no response. Summon the system, no response. System, still no response. No matter how he fiddled with it, the system seemed to have no response at all, and Luigi couldn't summon the system at all. Maybe it was because of the wrong way he got up? Luigi thought about it and covered himself with a quilt again, then changed the way he got up, summoning the system. Still nothing. Summon the system by standing upside down, no. Summon the system by holding the top, still no. Summon the system by raising his legs high in place, still no. Was that fake wine you drank yesterday? When Lan walked into the room with a glass of milk, he happened to see Luigi holding the top and raising his legs high, or high kicking. Facing Lan's puzzled questioning and the look in his eyes as if he had seen a victim of fake wine, Luigi stood up immediately. "Well, thank you for the milk. I brought the milk, not mine. I was wondering if there was something wrong with your brain today. Did Tony really give you fake wine?" Facing Lan's question, Luigi could only laugh. "Maybe it's because this is the first time I've been drunk in my life. I feel a little headache. I guess I need to sleep a little longer." Luigi said that he wanted to sleep a little longer because he drank too much. Lan could only let Luigi drink the milk and then walked out with a cup. Before leaving the door, she asked Li Ji what he wanted to eat for lunch. Since Li Ji was not feeling well today, she would cook for him. After sending Lan out, Li Ji sat on the bed. He was sure of one thing now: his system was gone. Such a big system, it was here before, but now it was gone? Why was it gone? Although I haven't communicated with the system for a long time, and I haven't used the system for a long time, but I always value the system. How could you run away from home? Li Ji thought in grief and anger. For a whole day, Li Ji tried to summon the system at home. Li Ji didn't even watch the live broadcast of the news about Black Bolt's first state visit to Earth. Tony, Rogers, and other people in the Illuminati sent messages, but Li Ji didn't reply carefully. He just used the excuse that he drank fake wine at Tony's house yesterday. So for a while, the rumor that Tony bought fake wine and gave Li Ji a drink, which caused him a headache for a whole day, spread among the Illuminati. And everyone pointed the finger at Tony, thinking that he deliberately retaliated against Li Ji because Li Ji gave him some nicknames he didn't like. Tony felt that he had suffered an eternal injustice. The bottle of champagne Dom was there, and he didn't open it to give Li Ji a drink. It was obviously him who drank it without the owner's consent. Even if he drank fake wine, it was his own fault, okay? Exclamation mark. However, the members of the Illuminati were worried that Li Ji did drink fake wine and damaged his brain, so they asked Thor, who was still living in Li Ji's house for the time being, to check on Li Ji's condition. When Thor found Li Ji was lying in the backyard of the small villa basking in the sun. It's summer now, and you're sitting here basking in the sun in the afternoon? Is your brain broken? Thor thought Li Ji must have drunk fake wine. No, I just need to calm down. Li Ji waved his hand while lying on the grass. Sunbathe to calm down? Listen, if you want to calm down, why don't we find a beach to swim? For example, Malibu Beach in Los Angeles, or Golden Sands in Australia, Sentosa in Singapore, etc. Go swimming, look at bikini beauties. I think you can calm down better this way. Thor said very seriously, because the weather was too hot. He was sweating all over his forehead. I have Lan, I don't need to look at other beauties anymore. Li Ji seemed to have entered the sage mode, and Thor was a little surprised. After a while, he heard a series of tiny footsteps going away, and the footsteps seemed to be Lan's footsteps. Huh? The insidious night walker, the representative of double dealing. What's wrong with you? You look listless. Don't tell me that you really became like this because you drank fake wine. You know, I drink much more wine than you. I have drunk a lot of good and bad wines. I am not in the same state as you after drinking too much. Are you having your period? Thor thought of the scene of the male menstrual cycle that Tony mentioned. You are having your period. Li Ji sat up and said this to Thor. Li Ji stood up and patted the grass on his body. Thor noticed that Li Ji's back was soaked with sweat. I just suddenly seemed to have lost something, as if some kind of spiritual support was stripped away. Li Ji couldn't say directly that it was because his system disappeared that caused his anxiety. In the past, although Li Ji had been making trouble all the time, he always felt that he had something to rely on behind him. After all, the system is something that cannot be explained. There are still many powerful things in it waiting for him to slowly discover. As long as he takes one step at a time, he may not be afraid of Thanos in the future, and he can fight him alone. Although Li Ji didn't think that fighting Thanos alone was a good way to deal with him. Because the best way to deal with Thanos is to have a group of people attack him. But when he woke up this morning and suddenly found that his system was gone, Li Ji still felt a little confused. The system appeared abruptly, and disappeared abruptly. If it weren't for the fact that his abilities were still preserved, the blueprints in the Venus base were still preserved, and the world had changed because of his movements, Li Ji really couldn't find any traces left by the system. Your spiritual pillar has been stripped away. Thor didn't quite believe what Li Ji said. He shook his head. What are you thinking about? What is your spiritual pillar? Don't you shout every day that you want to change the world? Now the whole world has begun to turn, and started to operate the way you originally envisioned. Shouldn't your spiritual pillar be getting stronger and more firm? Li Ji pondered for a while and said, I really don't know how to put this. For example, if one day all my superpowers disappear and I become an ordinary person again, what will happen? Thor looked at Li Ji for a long time, then pointed at Li Ji's nose and began to laugh. Ho ha ho ha. This is probably the funniest joke I've ever heard. Jason Lee, Do you really think any of us cares about your abilities and combat power? Ho ha ho ha. Chapter 1034. Don't underestimate yourself. When did you ever think we cared about your fighting ability or anything else? Thor said this mercilessly and indifferently. Who can you beat in the Illuminati? I really don't underestimate you. Although I don't know why you have mastered the thunder of destruction, and it looks like the quality is very high, the total amount of thunder of destruction you have is too small. Thor sat next to Li Ji and spoke frankly. If you fight with me, I can create a meteor shower that covers at least the planetary level if I'm serious. My lightning power can let you see what a real electric sea is like. The god of thunder of Asgard is no joke, and I have earned my reputation by killing people step by step. The heads of the old gods I have killed can be piled up as high as a hill. But will I retaliate against you for what you did to me in the past just because my strength has been restored and I am so much stronger than you? No, as the god of thunder, I am a magnanimous person and I never bother with the weak. Thor looked very generous, but Li Ji frowned as he listened to Thor's words. Thor continued, let's not talk about me, let's talk about Professor Bruce Banner. He controls his Hulk power and can accurately control every inch of his body. He is the most powerful guy I have ever seen. Many war gods known for brute force are not his opponents. For example, Hercules of Olympus may not be his opponent. And Dr. Banner also takes half an hour every day to study various martial arts and fighting techniques. He is a researcher and he doesn't like fighting. But if he wants to, I believe he can deliver a world-shaking punch. Judging from the fact that he can easily jump from the other side of the Pacific Ocean to the United States, his seemingly small body is full of courage. Well, by the way, there is also Dr. Doom. Although his individual combat power is not strong at present, but his attainments in magic are getting deeper and deeper. Much stronger than Dr. Horseface who lives in our basement. I believe he has a strong chance of becoming the next generation of Supreme Sorcerer. Do you think you can be on par with the next generation of Supreme Sorcerer? Thor's voice became more and more excited. It seemed that he had found a good place to mock and vent his dissatisfaction with Li Ji. The accumulation of dissatisfaction mainly came from the painful and failed weight loss experience. Li Ji listened to Thor talking about the Supreme Sorcerer, and Li Ji shook his head subconsciously. By the way, of course you can't compare with the Supreme Sorcerer. He is a powerful person of the multiverse level on Earth and a well-known existence in the magic field. He is a super powerful person who can stand shoulder to shoulder with Father Odin. If there was no Supreme Sorcerer, the Earth might have been swallowed up by Dormammu's dark space. Thor said excitedly. It was a rare opportunity to scold Li Ji, and he would spare no effort. Then there are Magneto and Professor Charles. Don't you always call Magneto the legendary blacksmith? Remember how we saw him mining on Venus and some asteroid belts? With a wave of his hand, he could assemble a super electromagnetic cannon from a bunch of parts. Look at his brain. Magneto not only has ability, but also brains. He can use his ability to release a super electromagnetic cannon once to break through the rock formations, but he is so smart. He can assemble a super electromagnetic cannon with some gadgets and local materials. He only needs to exert less than 1/20th of his strength to get the attack strength of his full force. Now he has seen all kinds of weapons and equipment at the Venus base, which has broadened his thinking. He now has an arsenal in his mind. You are right, he is indeed a legendary blacksmith. He can use all kinds of materials to assemble the equipment he needs anytime and anywhere. Protective shields, magnetic rail bubbles, anti-gravity control systems, space fillers. He can make all these things instantly using his electromagnetic abilities and enough materials. Having Magneto here is like having an endless arsenal. His own strength may not be as strong as the so-called Omega-level mutants. But with his equipment and his brain, he can instantly increase his strength by dozens of times, or even higher. Thor kept analyzing for Li Ji. Look, in front of these people, is your combat power still very strong? Although Professor Charles doesn't fight, his brainwave control ability is too terrifying, especially the brain enhancer made by Magneto for him makes him even more terrifying. As long as Magneto makes him a bigger and stronger enhancer, and Tony is willing to provide enough energy for the enhancer, Charles' brainwave control can even cover the solar system. He can overload the brain waves of hundreds of millions of people with just a snap of his fingers. Of course, you don't need to be too disappointed. I guess you are probably a little stronger than Dr. Hank and Tony Stark. In the Illuminati, Dr. Hank's combat power should be the lowest, followed by Tony Stark, and you are the third from the bottom. Thor said, the ranking in his mind. Li Ji asked somewhat unhappily, the third from the bottom? Me. Yes. Thor said firmly. Where do you put Captain Rogers? Li Ji was very dissatisfied. Well, he is a little special. Thor thought for a while and answered, it is difficult for me to determine whether Captain Rogers is strong or not. I have competed with him several times. Although I did not use Thor's hammer or lightning at that time. But I was dozens or hundreds of times better than him just by strength and physical strength. But we ended up in a tie, which is incredible. Thor still cannot believe the result of the competition, but the result is like this, and Thor does not bother to lie or make excuses. So Rogers' combat effectiveness is temporarily excluded from the regular sequence of the Illuminati. And in the regular sequence, you are probably ranked third from the bottom. Thor patted his chest and said very seriously. And you are different from Tony and Dr. Hank. Tony is the money bag of the Illuminati, and Dr. Hank is an important scientific researcher. Without the two of them as logistical support, I believe the Illuminati would not have developed to its current level. Thor said sincerely, so we have to thank them. Li Ji's face looked ugly after listening to Thor's analysis. He couldn't help but said, so in your opinion, I am the most idle person in the Illuminati? No, of course not. Thor immediately shook his head. Your significance to the Illuminati is equivalent to Loki's significance to Asgard. What significance? Dog-headed military advisor. P.S. There will be another update later. My computer broke today and I fiddled with it for a long time. Chapter 1035 The Sinister Villain. Military advisor. Thor said this as a matter of course, not noticing that Li Ji's face kept changing. It looked even more exciting than the constant change of face after drinking fake wine. Don't underestimate yourself, you are the best military advisor among us. Without you, we would never have so many wild ideas to solve various problems. Whether it's you who harmed Hydra or the global show. Your methods are more villainous than the villains. More vicious and cruel than the conspirators. Thor's words were no longer clear whether he was praising or insulting. Or was it seemingly praising, but actually sarcasm? After all, there are not many times when you can take advantage of Li Ji with your mouth. If you don't seize it now, you don't know when the next opportunity will come. After all, fake wine is not drunk every day. So Thor was very happy to have such an opportunity to educate Li Ji. Because usually Li Ji is full of great principles and great ideals to brainwash himself and others. Now that the roles have finally been reversed, Li Ji is confused. He can be the other person's spiritual mentor, how can he not be satisfied? In the past, he felt annoyed watching Li Ji nagging all day long, but he had to listen. Now that he has changed his role and is the one nagging Li Ji, Thor suddenly knows why Li Ji likes to nag others so much. It turns out that it feels so good to preach to others. It feels so good to accuse others from a moral high ground. It turns out that brainwashing others feels so good. Thor is in high spirits. Thor said with an excited expression on his face, so why do you care whether you lose your superpowers or not? And you haven't lost them now, right? Didn't you just flash a trace of the breath of thunder of destruction? It looks very powerful. And let's say you lose all your power one day. This phenomenon is possible, because I know that some people have borrowed power from the devil in another dimension, and finally all this power must be returned to the devil. Have you borrowed power from the devil? No. Oh, that's okay. Even if all your power is gone, it doesn't matter. Does the Illuminati still need a fighting force like you? Maybe in the sequence of superheroes, your fighting power is considered good. In the entire universe, your individual strength can be considered good, at least upper middle level. But with high-end fighting forces like me in the Illuminati, your fighting power and supernatural powers can be completely ignored. Your role is to continue to be your dog-headed military advisor and give advice to the Illuminati. Use your conspiracies and tricks to harm one enemy after another. Use your thinking that is comparable to that of a villain to think about the villain's thoughts and actions. Then use your rich experience and methods that are more villainous than the villain to lead us to defeat them. This is your main ability. Thor felt his nose itchy when he said this, so he pinched his nostrils. This action of his seemed to have angered Li Ji a bit, but in fact, this action was just a fuse. It was mainly because Thor had just nagged Li Ji a lot, and finally he looked down on him with his nose picked and his eyes squinted. Li Ji was originally still sad about the disappearance of the system, but because of Thor's interruption, he instantly forgot about the system. Forget it, although I do attach great importance to the system, I seem to have not used it for a long time recently. In fact, it doesn't seem to make any difference if I don't use the system. I haven't had a direct confrontation with anyone for a long time, just like Thanos. Star-Lord said that although Thanos is very strong individually, he has never been a guy who conquers the world by fighting alone. One of the reasons why he can become the overlord of the universe is the factor of personal force, but this factor accounts for less than 1/10 of the importance. The reason why Thanos really dominates the universe and becomes the overlord of the universe is because of his brain and technological means. A strong Thanos can destroy a star or even a solar system alone. But Thanos would never choose to solve such a thing with personal force. He would definitely make a bomb or something to deal with such a problem. Why use fists to solve a problem that can be solved with a brain? This is the most basic choice for all intelligent creatures. Probably only people with really bad brains would choose to solve all problems with fists, such as a certain lightning-salted fish in Asgard. Moreover, Thanos is very powerful. Although it is hard to say whether he can beat Odin in a single fight, the battle between Thanos and Odin was hundreds of years ago, when Odin was younger than now and Thanos was weaker. It is estimated that there is little suspense that he can defeat Thor in a single fight. However, even so, Thanos also has huge shortcomings. For example, Thanos can no longer live in a vacuum and oxygen-free environment in the universe. Note? In short, this overlord who is awe-inspiring in the universe cannot survive alone in space. He must rely on the armor he built for himself to survive in the universe. Otherwise, Thanos will die of suffocation due to lack of oxygen. However, Thor even said that the gods and people of Asgard can live in the vacuum of the universe, as long as they are strong enough not to freeze to death. They do not need oxygen. Breathing is just an action to circulate energy in the body, which has no real use. There are also some cosmic races that can live in a vacuum environment. So almost everyone who seems to be so strong that they cannot be solved actually has their own weaknesses. There is no strong person without weaknesses in the real world. After all, reality is not an online immortal novel. The strong can do everything but a why. Everyone has his own Achilles heel. Maybe I used to rely on the system and felt that I could become a strong person without weaknesses, and not having an Achilles heel is just a fantasy. The appearance and disappearance of the system are very abrupt. In fact, maybe I should check what the origin of the system is? Luigi has forgotten his slight uneasiness just now because of Thor's interruption. He patted his cheek and cheered up. Yes, there are not so many smooth sailing in life. There will always be some setbacks. What's more, this is not even a setback. As Thor said, did his combat power play a role in his ability to get to where he is today? It has risen, but it is just like Thanos' dominance over the universe. It occupies a very small proportion. Most of the time, I rely on my brain to deal with problems rather than my fists. Even if I lose all my superpowers now, will I be kicked out of the Illuminati? No, I have never relied on force to make a living in the Illuminati. At most, I will not do any tasks that require force in the future. Luigi felt much more relaxed after thinking this. He said to Thor with a smile, "Thank you, Thor. You're welcome." Thor felt very happy. Luigi continued to smile. "Do you know why I just burst out the power of the thunder of destruction? Because I just came up with a good idea." Luigi smiled amiably, but Thor suddenly felt a little cold on his back. "What idea?" Thor asked a little uneasily. Luigi smiled. "I was wondering if I should tell her about your evaluation of Loki, dog-headed military advisor? Do you think she would like the nickname you gave her?" "No. You can't do that. By the way, maybe your sister will help you deal with these tangled emotional problems on Earth." "No. I said don't do that. By the way, there is one more thing. Didn't Storm send a lot of private photos to your phone last time, and you asked me to delete them? At that time, I thought you might delete these materials one day, so I made a backup, including Storm and your private voice messages. Do you think if you send it to Loki, she will be very happy that her brother is so charming? Or should you make a backup for your mother as well? What do you think?" Luigi smiled brightly. Thor almost knelt down. He trembled for a long time and finally said, "I'm sorry, I was wrong. I was wrong. I still lost to this sinister villain." Note: Thanos really can't live in the vacuum of the universe. He needs his armor to provide him with oxygen in a vacuum to survive. Without oxygen, he will die. It sounds silly, but this is the original setting of Marvel. I think this setting is very good, which makes the character of Thanos more full, so I kept it. There is a story in the comics where Thanos and Deadpool carry oxygen tanks to explore the surface of an alien planet. This story comes from the main universe of 616 and is the official history. Chapter 1036 Life must go on. Although the system disappeared, life still had to be lived well. Leiji had thought clearly that he could not feel sorry for himself because the system was gone. Although he had done a lot of things relying on the system, the more he did, the more he understood. He could not rely on the system to get to where he is today. Although what Thor said was very unpleasant, some of the things were still very correct. That is, the Illuminati did not expect their own superpowers. Then there was the lie he had made up to Tony before, saying that the blueprints of the Venus fleet came from the second princess of Asgard, Loki, who fell in love with him and contributed something. In fact, after Leiji and Asgard had a deeper contact, he found that this method was not unworkable. Of course, it was not to make Loki fall in love with him. If he dared to do this, he was afraid that he would be tied up by Lan and Thor in a mixed doubles match, and he really couldn't beat him, or even run away. It was that it was feasible to obtain some scientific and technological blueprints from Asgard. Thor said that there were many people with advanced science and technology in the former kingdom of God on Earth in Asgard. They used technology far ahead of Earth's. Asgard has also collected a lot of technology from this kind of scientific and technological civilization to learn from it. So it is feasible to obtain some technology from Asgard. Of course, most of those technologies are not as completely suitable for Earth's development as the technology of the Venus fleet. Because the technology tree of each civilization point is based on its own physical conditions and the resources of the region. For example, all the energy on a planet with mechanical life is supported by something like tiberium. All technology is based on tiberium. If there is no tiberium, then their technology is just a paper talk. And this kind of tiberium does not exist on Earth, so this technology has no value for Earth. However, there are so many cosmic civilizations, and it is good for Earth to obtain some technologies that have been eliminated by high civilizations. In the process of cosmic civilization, Earth is just a backward civilization. But in any case, the hero system that appeared inexplicably in his body gave him a starting point. At least he grew up step by step on these foundations. At the beginning, he was just a simple street hero, but now he can secretly control the world. Leiji said that he was not complacent, which was impossible. Although he has lost the system and other things now, he still has to go on with his life. He still has to continue to do what he should do. As Thor said, many careers have just started, and it is not the time to be sad and complain. As for the system, he should explore its origin. In this mysterious Marvel world, who knows if the system is a sweet trap given by some demon? Leiji thought of this because of Thor's reminder. In addition to the system, he still needs to deal with many things. For example, there is a problem that has been unresolved until now, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. That is Tony's life experience. Should he tell him that he is not Howard Stark's biological son? Leiji still feels uncomfortable with such a secret in his heart. And where is Howard's biological son? In addition, what is the ultimate weapon mentioned in the book left by Isaac Newton in the world that I saw in the other world before, which was specially arranged for him to mine resources, the story of Ares and Dawn Realm in the previous article? And why does Loki seem to be plotting the Space Stone? She is not now joining Thanos as in the original movie story. She does not need to use the Space Stone to open the Space Gate for the Chitauri, so why is she plotting the Space Stone? And what is the blood of the ancient gods that appeared inexplicably when Thor and the horse-faced wizard went to S.H.I.E.L.D. to steal the Space Stone? Although Thor repeatedly emphasized that this thing is useless, Leiji really dare not rest assured about the conclusion of Thor, a poor student. After calculating this way, it seems that he still has a lot of things to deal with. However, starting from the beginning, the most important thing in front of him is the post-war treatment of the Chitauri. Because the Inhuman Black Bolt has met with the 5 permanent members of the United Nations and the leaders of major countries, and launched a cordial and enthusiastic meeting. And they had an in-depth exchange of views on various issues of concern to both sides, and they all reserved their own views, etc. This is the official report on the news. Anyway, I heard from Captain Rogers that the leaders of the 5 permanent members and other countries had a big quarrel. The combat effectiveness shown by the Venus fleet is really too strong, so strong that it makes people palpitate. Although the Inhumans showed friendliness, many leaders still felt nervous. Those small countries that have no international status are fine. The big countries that really have international status, such as the leaders of the 5 permanent members, did not perform very well, because they are worried that their national status will be impacted. As for resisting the Inhumans from joining the Earth family, it is impossible. Because the Inhumans appeared as the saviors of the Earth this time, from various angles, the Earth Federation has no reason to resist the Inhumans. And if they really want to resist or even anger the other party, there are still many people who are afraid that the Inhumans will use their fleet, actually the Illuminati, to destroy other countries on Earth. So now the Earth Federation's attitude towards the Inhumans is very ambiguous. They covet the Inhumans' technology, but they are afraid that the other party is too strong. This contradictory attitude of fear and envy made the political stance of the Earth Federation waver. But this was a good thing for Li Ji and others. Because Li Ji let Rogers and several other politically influential figures in the Illuminati speak out. Let them issue a unified statement, unite all forces that should be united. With this slogan as a starting point, the mutant country Tuvalu has integrated into the international community faster. And the international community must also face up to the new Eastern European alliance formed by Latveria. Because the Earth needs helium-3, and now the Inhuman Sky City is flying on the edge of the moon. This makes the 5 permanent members feel like their balls are being pinched in someone's hand, and they feel like they are dying. And this is the result that Li Ji and others need, which is to make these countries uncomfortable. Only when they are uncomfortable, then the following things will be easier to handle. Li Ji cheered up and he was ready to go out. Because he felt that Leonardo had been accompanying the Eleni Centurion for a long time, and it was time for him to end his 3 accompaniment work. And the Nova Corps should also show a little face. Chapter 1037 Crocodile Smile. Leonardo, the former acting idol who later became an acting actor. He felt that he had suffered a lot in his life, including constantly gaining and losing weight for the Oscars. He had experienced exercise and taking medicine. But everything he had experienced recently made him feel that the suffering he had suffered in the past was nothing at all. Lose weight or gain weight? Become handsome or ugly? Constantly publicize the judges for the Oscars? All of this is a piece of cake. Can all this be stronger than having an unprecedented love affair with aliens in order to ensure world peace and maintain the survival of Earth civilization? The answer is no. Leonardo was transformed by Tony Stark into the handsome boy he used to be. What he needs to do is to appease one of his alien fans. Because this alien fan has a very big background, so big that he has to sacrifice himself to save the world. Fortunately, this alien fan is still rational and did not do anything too outrageous to him like the fanatical fans on Earth. And as long as this alien fan can accept that her skin color is lavender, then she can also be considered a beauty. As long as he hypnotizes himself and imagines himself as Avatar, Leonardo feels that it is not unacceptable to fall in love with such an alien. After going through a difficult period, he finally waited for the moment of liberation. The superhero on Earth, Nightwalker, appeared in front of him. I thought I would be trapped to death in this place. Thank God, you are finally here. Are you here to take me away? Leonardo almost cried when he saw Nightwalker. It must be said that the crying of the 20-year-old Leonardo can really break the hearts of many people. Of course, this does not include Li Ji. Ignoring Leonardo, Li Ji first cared about Eileen's situation. After leaving Leonardo behind, Li Ji first found the Centurion Eleni and greeted her cordially. Is Your Excellency the Centurion having a good time these days? To be honest, it's very pleasant. Eleni had a cordial smile on her face, and there was a sense of pleasure from the inside out. Earth is a good place, I'm serious. Defender Entertainment City, formerly Defender Starport, is really a wonderful place, which is more wonderful than most entertainment venues I have been to in the universe. Eleni praised without hesitation. And the people here are also very good. Yes, how can they not be good? For you, we turned Leonardo back to 20 years old and contributed it. Li Ji thought so in his heart. To be honest, I am very glad that I can meet the culture of Earth. It is so charming here, my companions and I like it very much. Eleni said this sincerely. Li Ji also believed what Eleni said. Because he had talked to Star-Lord before, and Star-Lord said that everything was under control. The warriors of the Nova Corps who came here to support have completely fallen in love with the various facilities provided by the Defender Entertainment City, including entertainment, food, and various sports and leisure activities. Everyone loves it. Get up in the morning and have a Cantonese dim sum or a French buffet brunch, Then go play golf or enjoy a hot spring spa. Take a break at noon, and watch a movie while eating delicious food in a cinema that provides food services. Take a break, play football or rugby in the afternoon, or play billiards, badminton, and tennis. If you don't like sports, then go to the entertainment room to play games. You can play a game of LOL in 5v5, or play a game of Mario Kart 8 with multiple people online. If you think these are too noisy, you can also go to the huge library quietly to read various novels and comics. The books in the library are updated every day, and now they are trying to keep up with the updates of novel websites and serialized magazines such as Kitty and Chinese Network and Dinjiki Library. And they also keep up with the serialized comics of major comic magazines. This is a good place for many people who like to read quietly. Many soldiers of the Nova Corps were amazed at the imagination of the Earthlings. This group of civilizations trapped on Earth had just walked out of space, so they had so many wonderful ideas. Although many ideas seemed nonsense to the soldiers of the Nova Corps, if they put aside some of the settings that they felt were inappropriate and simply looked at the story, many stories were very interesting. This is the legendary. If you accept this setting, it will be very exciting. Therefore, as long as the soldiers of the Nova Corps are not the kind of war maniacs who feel uncomfortable if they don't fight for a day, all other soldiers can find their own leisure methods in the Defender Entertainment City. Even various gambling entertainments on Earth are provided here. Of course, the players are only members of the Nova Corps. But it's a pity. We probably won't stay for too long. We need to report the situation of the Chitauri to the Corps, and we will need to return soon. Eleni said this and felt it was a pity. She really wanted to stay for a while. This is also the idea of most people here. And Li Ji was actually waiting for these Nova Corps soldiers to feel reluctant to leave everything here, because the corruption of the Nova Corps was only preliminary. He also needs to expand his strategy to Xander. It is not enough to rely on Star-Lord's current small-scale operations. He needs to expand Star-Lord's influence on Xander, just as the two had discussed long ago. They want to make Star-Lord an ambassador for the spread of Earth culture, and Earth can play the role of providing logistics, culture and entertainment for the Nova Corps. After all, it is better to lean on a big tree for shade. So Li Ji said with a smile, "Sir Centurion, do you like everything we provide for you and the soldiers?" "Yes, I'm not polite, we really like it." Eleni was very straightforward, because Star-Lord brought back some specialties from the Earth when he returned to the Earth last time. Let us know that there is such a civilization in the Milky Way, which is very unique and charming. That's why we volunteered to come and support the Earth. But now that the incident is over, it's time for us to leave. Although I'm reluctant, there is always an end. Eleni said goodbye reluctantly. "Thank you very much for everything you have prepared to entertain us. Thank you very much." In response to Eleni's thanks, Li Ji naturally said quickly, "I dare not, this is what I should do. In fact, we need to thank the Nova Corps for helping us at the critical moment." People who are familiar with Li Ji understand that when Nightwalker starts talking like this, he has entered the official tone mode, and he needs to be careful with every word he says at this time. In fact, we should treat the Nova Corps who helped us with this. This is the courtesy you all deserve, and we are proud to do all this. In fact, although the Earth civilization is still relatively backward and not particularly strong, it took all our strength just to fight against a small group of pirates from the Chitauri. But I think the Earth can still make some contributions to the Milky Way. Especially to the Nova Corps that defends the Milky Way. Li Ji said with a smile. Eleni raised his eyebrows. "How do you mean?" "For example, provide the Nova Corps with sufficient logistics, cultural and entertainment products." "What do you think, Your Excellency the Centurion?" The crocodile smiled. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1038 Cultivating the Market. In fact, Earth is also determined to contribute to the Milky Way. The crocodile continued to smile, but as you can see, Lord Eleni, our technological level is not advanced. The star field we are in is also very barren. Li Ji said the truth, and Eleni nodded after listening to these words. Li Ji continued, "But we on Earth know very well that it is always better to have one more friend in this world than one more enemy. We have no intention of invading other star-field civilizations, and we don't have the ability to do so. Star-Lord talked about the Galactic Alliance and the Nova Corps after he came back last time. So we have been thinking about what we can do for the Galactic Alliance. We are just a civilization that has just entered the universe. For some reason, we have obtained some armed technology that allows us to build interstellar battleships. But our overall technological level is still relatively low, like a person walking on one foot. Some progress in military industry cannot explain the overall civilization of the Earth. We still have a long way to go before becoming a true interstellar civilization. We hope to join the Galactic Alliance and gain more exchanges and development in it. Li Ji first positioned the Earth civilization at a very low position, because what he was planning was not suitable for the Earth to be too prominent, especially in terms of technology. The Earth is still very weak now. Look at the attack of the Chitauri this time. Li Ji and his team had been planning for so long, and they had a deliberate plan. The whole battle was still in their hands, and they set up an ambush circle in advance, and even had reinforcements from the Nova Corps. Although the Chitauri fleet was completely wiped out, the Venus fleet still lost almost a quarter of its warships. There must be casualties in war, and a record of 0 casualties can only be an accidental legend, or a one-sided crushing. And what he was facing was just a detachment of the Chitauri, and this Chitauri was hired by the Skrulls. It can be said that this wave of Chitauri who came to attack the Earth was just responsible for the mercenary business among the Chitauri pirates. It was not the main fleet of the Chitauri. Li Ji and his team wasted so much effort just to deal with a detachment. What if it was the Chitauri or even the main fleet of the Skrulls? Even if he really wanted to ask Asgard for help and let Ancient One take action. So Li Ji is now very clear about the current position of the Earth, and he can't be complacent just because he won a battle. The victory of this war is more of a political meaning. After letting the Earth join the Nova Corps, it will have a certain amount of leverage to tell other members of the Star Alliance that we have defeated the Chitauri and we are not a soft person. But this attitude naturally cannot be shown to Eleni now. Li Ji still hopes that she can help him lobby other high-level officials of the Nova Corps. Of course, as one of the only 50 Centurions in the Nova Corps, Eleni herself belongs to the high level. You are right, Nightwalker. Eleni nodded. She agreed with Li Ji's words. Star-Lord and I have reported on the level of civilization on Earth. Apart from your interstellar battleships, your overall level of civilization is not particularly high. We have just entered the interstellar era, and there is a standard for joining the Star Alliance. We cannot casually accept all civilizations to join the Star Alliance, because after entering the Star Alliance, civilizations have obligations to assume, and naturally they also have rights within the Star Alliance. Eleni's expression became more serious when she said these words, and the joyful expression disappeared a lot, but at least she was in a good mood now, so Li Ji's timing of talking was still very right. After joining the Star Alliance, the Nova Corps has the obligation to undertake their defense tasks. For example, attacks by space pirates, such as the attack by the Chitauri this time, or scattered attacks by other small groups of pirates. The Nova Corps will also open some public technology projects for Star Alliance members to browse and study. Eleni said these are the benefits of joining the Star Alliance and accepting the jurisdiction of the Nova Corps. Of course, rights and obligations are equal. The Nova Corps maintains peace in the Milky Way and even in the wider star field, prohibits civilization annihilating massacre wars, etc. However, there will always be conflicts between civilizations, and some conflicts will inevitably rise to the point where war is needed to resolve them. The Nova Corps cannot endlessly mediate these wars, because the stronger the suppression of some wars, the more fierce they will be when they suddenly rebound. We agree to limited armed conflicts to determine the ownership of some things, but we will give priority to guaranteeing the interests of members of the Star Alliance. Eleni said this very bluntly. As long as there are people, including aliens, there will be rivers and lakes, and there will be struggles in this river and lake, and this struggle can also be interpreted as politics. As I said before, the Nova Corps formed the Star Alliance from a good perspective. Members have rights and naturally have obligations. This includes providing resources to the Nova Corps, opening ports, allowing members of civilizations to join the Nova Corps and become elite warriors, etc. And all of this has a threshold. Eleni got to the point, which was also the main purpose of Li Ji's conversation with Eleni this time. If a civilization is too low, it will be difficult for it to provide the Nova Corps with everything I mentioned above. The Nova Corps strictly prohibits high-level civilizations from attacking low-level civilizations that have not yet entered the interstellar era. This is an iron rule. The development of civilization must conform to its natural laws and should not be forcibly destroyed by external forces. When a civilization enters the interstellar era, this protection will gradually disappear, because at this time, conflicts of interest between interstellar civilizations will gradually occur. You can understand it as the kind of player in the Earth game who has a novice protection. At this time, he has no novice protection, but his own level is not high and his equipment is not strong, so he is easily killed by high-level players. Eleni seems to have played Earth games. Yes, Sir Eleni. Li Ji interrupted and said, "This is exactly what I am worried about. Earth civilization is now only protected by a fragile eggshell. Before we spread our wings and become eagles, I hope our civilization can be sheltered under the wings of the Nova Corps. People must learn to be soft. The current Earth has no tricks to face the powerful Nova Corps. And the Nova Corps is a lawful, good and positive camp anyway, so joining them is still safe. But, as I said, Earth is in a very awkward stage now, and its level is neither up nor down. It is hard to say whether the Nova Corps will hold a meeting to discuss whether to accept Earth civilization. Because Earth may only ask for things from the Corps for a long time, but cannot give back. You know, a healthy interest chain is an equal exchange between the two sides." Eleni expressed his thoughts, only with equal exchange, rather than one party blindly asking for things, can the relationship between the two sides remain pleasant in long-term cooperation. And the Corps also needs to consider the ideas of other Star Alliance members. Eleni said a very realistic problem. When the topic came to this, Li Ji nodded and said, "That's why I proposed to His Excellency the Centurion that Earth provide logistical entertainment services for the Nova Corps." Eleni pondered for a while and said, "But the Corps may not be willing to pay for these high-priced entertainment facilities. This is not a necessity. Although Star-Lord opened an Earth entertainment city after returning to Xander, the charges were not high but not low. Even so, Star-Lord said that this was already a low price without considering the transportation fee. It is a universal understanding that good entertainment products are expensive, even on Xander." In response to Eileni's question, Li Ji immediately said, "Sir Eileni, we can promise. We will provide all services at cost price and will not make any money. We can even provide some services for free. And this will be our contribution to the Nova Corps," Li Ji said with confidence. He sighed in his heart, cultivating the market requires some costs. Chapter 1039 Export Monopoly. We can provide various entertainment products at low prices or even at cost, and we can even adopt a free system for some products. Li Ji already had a complete idea in his heart. Cultivating a market requires time and cost, just like when electronic games entered the Chinese market on the other side of the strait. The world's major game manufacturers adopted a low-price sales strategy for the Chinese mainland market in the 1990s and the beginning of the new century, and even had a 10 yuan or 20 yuan Sesame Open Door Genuine series. This is quite cheap compared to the price of games in Japan and Europe and the United States that are easily sold at $39.9 US. The same is true for the NBA. As the most successful sports entertainment project in the world, former NBA President David Stern once gave away NBA game videos to CCTV5 for free for many years, including the heyday of the Chicago Bulls, which made a whole generation remember Michael Jordan. When CCTV could not afford the high-priced broadcasting rights of the NBA cultivated Chinese fans for free. 10 years of cultivation, 10 years of growth. The NBA spent 20 years, and now Chinese NBA fans have become the largest overseas fan market of the NBA. The NBA's behavior of paying costs to cultivate the market has made the NBA the most profitable sports league in the world. Now we can see from the annual salary of NBA players that billion-dollar contracts are commonplace. Even bench players who guard a water dispenser and play less than 5 games a year can get millions of dollars in salary, which is quite scary. So free contributions may seem stupid in the short term, but in the long run it is a worthwhile investment. Those who do not plan for eternity are not qualified to plan for the moment. Li Ji is not thinking about the gains and losses in the short term, but a strategy that can still be effective after his death in decades or even hundreds of years. Because everyone on Earth knows a truth, the cheapest things in the world are bought with money, and the most expensive things are free. However, Eileni is not clear about this truth, because from everything Li Ji just said, The Earth does need the assistance of the Nova Corps, and in terms of joining the Star Alliance, the Earth really has nothing more to show for it. In addition to being able to provide logistical entertainment services, they really don't seem to have more weight. As for the logistical entertainment project, to be honest, Eileene thinks it's really good. Eileene likes all kinds of movies and music on Earth. When Star-Lord was in the Nova Corps, he always liked to play the old songs on the tape that his mother left him. However, only Star-Lord liked the melodies of the golden songs from the 1980s. The other members of the Nova Corps were not interested. Lee Ji and his team provided some modern pop music, as well as more ancient symphonies, classical music, Asian folk music, etc. These music greatly broadened people's understanding of Earth music. People often say that music and art are borderless, and this also applies to the Nova Corps. Eileene likes these music very much, just like someone who likes something very much can't help but recommend it to others. This kind of thinking that it is better to share happiness with others than to enjoy it alone is common in many people. Eileene also wants to introduce the various Earth cultures that he likes to more people, so Lee Ji's suggestion of providing entertainment products at cost price or even for free really touched Eileene. However, this is also thanks to Lee Ji and his team deliberately omitting products such as Penguin Company when selecting products for the Nova Corps. Otherwise, Eileene would probably shudder when hearing the words free products. We can provide all kinds of food, game consoles and hardware equipment at cost price. As for software equipment, such as games, novels, comics, movies, etc., we can provide this series of products to the Nova Corps in a nearly free way. Lee Ji said sincerely. Can you make the decision? Eileene looked at Lee Ji with some doubt. I have some friends who can always persuade those businessmen and politicians to agree to this decision. Exchange cultural entertainment products and various foods for more advanced technology. Even if these technologies are already backward for the Nova Corps, they are still very useful for the Earth. I believe that anyone with a brain can make the corresponding choice. Lee Ji said confidently. Eileene paced back and forth in the room for a while after hearing what Lee Ji said. Finally, she raised her head and nodded and said, Okay, I can try to put forward the Earth's requirements to the Corps. But I can't guarantee whether the Corps can agree to this in the end. With a proposal of a Centurion, the Corps will hold a meeting to discuss it. It was enough for Lee Ji to hear Eileene willing to help. He smiled and said, Thank you very much, Sir Eileene. To thank the Nova Corps for their support this time, we will send you more gifts. We will try to collect as many foods and game consoles as possible that the soldiers like, and try to satisfy the desires of other Nova Corps members far away in Xander. Eileene thought that this Night Walker was really good at dealing with things, and he was very good at being a man. Eileene smiled and said, Thank you very much, I'm not polite. Of course you don't need to be polite, these are all my duty. There is one more small thing I think I need to trouble you with. Lee Ji also smiled and responded. Eileene, what is it? Lee Ji, I think you and your fleet will make an informal diplomatic visit to the outer space of the Earth. No problem. Eileene agreed very readily. Lee Ji finally took Leonardo away, and Leonardo felt that he was reborn. He had been living among a group of aliens during this period, and he felt that he was under a lot of pressure. What did you talk about with the alien commander? Leonardo was a little curious about the Night Walker who came to pick him up. He originally thought that Tony Stark would contact these people. After all, according to Tony, it was Tony who first contacted the Inhumans, and then the Inhumans encountered this group of aliens called the Nova Corps. Then, after discussion between Tony and the Inhumans Black Bolt, it was decided to hand the matter over to Tony. Facing Leonardo's inquiry, Lee Ji said lightly, It's just an opportunity to spread Earth culture to the entire universe. Maybe you will become a cosmic superstar. Lee Ji glanced at Leonardo, who was now handsome again. Leonardo didn't quite believe what Lee Ji said. But it didn't matter whether he believed it or not, because don't forget, Lee Ji has a Marvel Entertainment Group in his hands. How could he let others take over the task of foreign cultural exports? It's time to make Marvel Entertainment bigger, such as monopolizing cultural exports. Lee Ji smiled inwardly. Chapter 1040 More Than One. I have already negotiated with the Nova Corps' decree captain Eileene. When Lee Ji passed this news back to the Illuminati, everyone was relieved. Because in this whole plan, the most feared thing is that the decree captain of the Nova Corps will not cooperate with him. Because the people of the Nova Corps really don't need to cooperate with the Illuminati to do anything. Fortunately, the various Earth specialties given to Star-Lord before played a role on the planet Xander, and the signs of cultural invasion have begun to appear. This group of Nova Corps members, including Eileen, can be regarded as the first group of Nova members to be invaded by culture. And in this way, the Nova Corps corruption plan can continue. But we can't just hand over the cultural invasion products to the market for independent operation, at least not at this time. Not when we are expanding our business. Liji emphasized the importance of this time period. We know that there are too many types of cultural and entertainment products on Earth, and they are mixed together. Good and bad are everywhere. Playing good games, reading good novels, and watching good movies can add points to Earth culture in the eyes of the Nova Corps. But from another perspective, if the members of the Nova Corps wanted to watch Pacific Rim but saw Atlantic Rim, what do you think they would do? Probably smash the cinema, especially if it's their first time watching an Earth movie. I guess they won't come back for the second time. Tony stroked his beard and said so. Tony naturally knew about the movie Atlantic Rim. The film company that shot this movie is a well-known Hollywood copycat company. It specializes in shoddy copycats of various Hollywood hits. The reason Tony knew about this company was that after Iron Man became a hit, this company copied a spoof version of Iron Man. With an investment of less than $2 million, it actually got a box office of $3 million in the North American market. In addition to the home video and online on-demand charges, this company's copycat movie can actually make a profit of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Liji was right to worry. If a large number of such crude cultural products were allowed to flow into the Nova Corps, the consequences would be disastrous. For example, people went to the cinema to watch a movie called Titanic 2 which had nothing to do with Titanic. They went to the game store to buy a game called God of War, Gulpasha which had nothing to do with God of War. They went to the bookstore to buy a new book by Jin Yuang which had nothing to do with Jin Yuang. It is conceivable that the Nova Corps members who have been fooled by these things will inevitably have a sharp drop in their favorability towards Earth culture, and it is not an exaggeration to say that they will turn from fans to haters. For example, if Eileen were to watch the so-called Titanic 2, she would probably go berserk. Therefore, this kind of cultural products must not be exported. If they are exported, they will have to be aware of their own retreat. The lack of cultural invasion is still a small matter, the key is to fear the possibility of a reverse queue. So we need to set up a management committee to conduct strict reviews of all cultural products that may be exported to the Nova Corps or even other civilizations in the galaxy. Liji put forward his own suggestions. We need to establish a relatively rigorous product review mechanism and unify exports. This is what we need to do. Liji said very seriously. Dr. Doom played with his fireball magic and asked, do we need to set up a new cultural product company? This is a bit troublesome. It seems that no one here has ever been involved in this industry. When Doom just finished speaking, he found that he didn't seem to be right. He looked up at Liji with a smile and suddenly realized, wait, you mean your Marvel Entertainment Group? Liji raised his eyebrows. After all, who else can do this kind of thing? So everyone, please give me a hand. Let all this be implemented smoothly, and let us spread the Earth culture to further places. The Illuminati. Earth, United Nations Headquarters. Now the United Nations Headquarters has begun to gradually transition to the Earth Federation Headquarters. More and more countries have believed that the Earth Federation should not be a small game between a few major powers, but an organization that includes more countries, and even should replace the United Nations. This idea has become more rampant after the Saturn War and the appearance of the Inhumans. Especially after the Inhumans ruler Black Bolt appeared in outer space with his space city, this idea has become mainstream. The 5 permanent members of the UN have realized that this world is no longer a time when a few powerful countries can claim to be the only ones. The Earth is now facing a greater impact. After the Inhumans, Black Bolt was invited to visit many countries. He attended the conference held at the United Nations headquarters. This is a meeting with a purpose. Because the Inhumans' technology is so much ahead of the Earth, all countries hope to reach a certain intention with the Inhumans, and some countries even secretly express the idea of selling out some national interests in exchange for the support of the Inhumans. This is very normal, because the emergence of the Inhumans broke the original power structure on the Earth. And this delicate balance has been broken, causing many countries to inexplicably have a feeling that if they find a good backer, they can also get promoted. Therefore, various diplomatic battles such as wooing and showing goodwill to the Inhumans are now in full swing. In order to prevent the Earth from being destroyed by the aliens, instead of being destroyed by the internal fighting, Director Rogers and Black Bolt, together with the leaders of major countries in the world, gathered at the United Nations headquarters to hold an important summit, which is related to the future direction of the Earth. Now there are thousands of media outlets around the world gathered outside the United Nations headquarters, and nearly 10,000 reporters have poured into New York. Everyone wants to know what the Inhumans, who have saved the Earth and mastered high technology, will say to them. Will Black Bolt really agree to disclose the Inhumans' technology? Will he support those countries on Earth? Will he oppose the various policies currently in operation on Earth? These questions are of concern to everyone. When Black Bolt appeared in a black leather coat instead of a suit like most leaders, he looked particularly cool. Especially with a huge Shar-Pei dog like a baby elephant following behind him, this combination is even more eye-catching. After entering the United Nations headquarters building and standing on the podium, Black Bolt did not wait for any representatives or leaders of any country to ask questions. He spoke first, using an electronic voice synthesizer. Ladies and gentlemen, in fact, the interstellar fleet that appeared in the Battle of Saturn was not only the Inhumans. Chapter 1041: A Difficult Problem. In fact, during the Saturn War, it was not only the Inhuman fleet. There was another fleet that helped us through the difficulties, and from the intelligence I have, the other fleet has more powerful strength than ours. Black Bolt did not wait for anyone to ask questions, he first threw out this very important information. In fact, there are indeed many doubts about the Saturn War. For example, if the Inhuman fleet appeared first, then why did the Inhuman fleet and the Goblin fleet have a truce for a period of time in the middle of the Saturn War? Because the state of the Skrull warship being captured was not observed on Earth, because it was a mess at the time and the Skrull warship was not large and not obvious. After the truce, the war started again, and then another fleet suddenly appeared near Pluto, and then jumped in to attack the Goblin fleet together. At first, many people thought that the fleet that came from Pluto was also under the Inhumans, but when Black Bolt said this, everyone knew that things might not be that simple. Where did this fleet come from and where did it go? Wait, Mr. Black Bolt. Are you talking about another fleet that appeared and attacked those alien fleets? This powerful fleet does not belong to the Inhumans. The U.S. Secretary of State immediately stood up and spoke, and seemed a little rude because he interrupted Black Bolt's words. But at this time, the Secretary of State could not care so much. No one cared about the U.S. Secretary of State's impoliteness, because everyone wanted to know more information. Yes, that's right. That fleet is not from the Inhumans. Black Bolt had colluded with the Illuminati for a long time. At this point, Black Bolt already knew that the Inhumans might really need to seek help from the Illuminati. Not to mention how important the X drug that can help the Inhumans change their genetic diseases is. Tetanus, the giant Shar-Pei dog, has asked Black Bolt countless times to agree to the request of Li Ji and others in exchange for X drug to remove the disease. Tetanus used to be a person, and if he hadn't been infected with a Terrigen mist, he wouldn't have turned into a giant Shar-Pei dog. After becoming a Shar-Pei, Tetanus gained a seemingly powerful ability, teleportation, and can bring people with him, but he also lost more. Because Tetanus really became a dog with human thinking. His body is a dog's, and his mind is a human's. But no matter how much he wants to ensure that he is like a human, his living habits must be aligned with those of a dog. For example, dogs cannot eat chocolate. When Tetanus was still a human, he loved chocolate the most. He had to eat at least 50 grams of 55% pure dark chocolate a day. But after becoming a dog, he must get rid of this habit. Because dogs will die if they eat this stuff. In addition, all kinds of food can only be eaten without salt, because dogs are prone to kidney failure if they eat food with a lot of salt. There are also seafood, grapes, and all irritating seasonings, all spices such as onions, ginger, garlic, pepper, etc. Although Black Bolt is still trying to maintain Tetanus's dignity as a human being and providing him with more formal food, such as boiled chicken breast and broccoli, to be honest, this is already dog food. All the enjoyments that Tetanus had as a human before, he can no longer have. Tetanus and Black Bolt have a very good relationship. They can be said to be playmates since childhood and friends who can live together. Black Bolt can trust Tetanus with his life. Tetanus's eyes are getting more and more melancholy day by day. In fact, as a friend, Black Bolt is still very uncomfortable. He also hopes that his friend will be happy. Many things are like this. Only when you lose them will you know the preciousness. Black Bolt is afraid that Tetanus will really give up his dignity as a human being and become a dog completely one day. and situations similar to tetanus are not uncommon in the Inhumans. This is not only related to the restrictions of reproductive isolation of the Inhumans, but also represents whether the dignity of this group of people as human beings can be guaranteed. Black Bolt hopes that his people will have a happy life, so he urgently needs a large amount of X potion to neutralize the mutation of Terrigen Mist. Putting these aside, just talking about the strength of the Venus fleet, and now Li Ji and others have hooked up with a powerful alien army. From this perspective, if Black Bolt refuses to cooperate with the Illuminati, he believes that these guys will really expel the Inhumans and Attilan from the solar system. Unless a war breaks out, the two parties can only cooperate. Although Li Ji showed a strong attitude during the negotiation, the plan he gave enough face to the Inhumans. Let them come to Earth as a savior. This can be said to have preserved Black Bolt's face to the greatest extent. It is also because of this plan that he and his wife Medusa are not so resistant. And now cooperating with the Illuminati to carry out the next plan can be said to be mutually beneficial. Because Black Bolt has clearly seen that Earth civilization is beginning to rise. Under a group of, well, no. It is rising among the galaxies under the leadership of a superhero, or villain, whose means do not seem so upright. Whether you like it or not, the torrent of history has come. It is not difficult to choose whether to sail with the wind or to try to stop the chariot. This space fleet is chasing the Chitauri, the fleet that claims to attack the Earth. They are a group of space pirates. And the ones chasing them are a group of space police, called the Nova Corps. Black Bolt said everything according to the script. And what he said also set off a commotion in the venue. And now this fleet is stationed near Pluto. I have contacted them and have had more exchanges. They are a powerful organization with footprints throughout the galaxy. In fact, they discovered the Earth a long time ago, but they never cared about it. Because the Earth had not reached the level of cosmic civilization before, and it had not even reached the level of primary cosmic civilization. Black Bolt said to everyone. And now, while we were chasing the space pirates Chitauri, they came to Earth again. And they found that we have reached the primary threshold of interstellar civilization. They helped us defeat this group of alien pirates, and after my repeated persuasion and retention, they are now making corrections near Pluto. I have been trying to communicate more with them to get more information. And now, a very important information is in front of us. The Milky Way Interstellar Alliance, an opportunity to join the universe-level multi-distance civilization alliance is in front of us. Join or not. The news brought by Black Bolt posed a difficult problem to the whole world. P.S. I opened Microsoft Solitaire because I couldn't help it. I should have started writing and updating at 7 p.m., but I couldn't help playing Solitaire. I played until 9 p.m. before starting to update, so it's a bit late today. Chapter 1042, Using Power Again. Black Bolt brought a message and two choices. A fleet from a more powerful alien civilization was stationed in the star field of Pluto, and Black Bolt had contacted the other party. The most important thing was that he had obtained enough information and was the first to contact the other party. This is a powerful civilization. They govern the star field of the entire Milky Way. This time, they came to our solar system with only a small fleet that could not be smaller. Their overall strength can make us astonished. Black Bolt began to tell everything about the Nova Corps. At the same time, he also told everything about the Star Alliance. He told many leaders in the Earth Alliance one by one. He did not hide the pros and cons, and told them everything. Wait, how can we believe that you are telling the truth? What if all this is made up by you? The foreign minister of the Great British Troublemaker Empire asked such a question. You can completely not believe my words, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I don't need you to believe it. Black Bolt looked like he didn't care whether he believed it or not. However, according to Roger's observation, Black Bolt's appearance is still a little short of perfection. If this attitude is played by Dr. Doom, it will be perfect. It will definitely make the British Foreign Secretary gasp in an instant. Black Bolt's indifferent attitude is so direct. Anyway, I have said everything I should say. Since the representative of the British Ireland or something country does not believe it and has a veto power in this kind of meeting, I think I don't need to waste my words. Goodbye, everyone. Black Bolt looked willful and was about to leave, and now the meeting has not even started for 10 minutes. The scene was very awkward for a while. Fortunately, Captain Rogers came up to smooth things over. He pulled Black Bolt aside and whispered for a long time, as if to comfort him. At the same time, Several employees of the SWORD also sent a message to representatives of various countries. Adeline is a monarchy, and Black Bolt is the supreme power to have the final say in the country. Don't try to think about his thinking in the mode of the Earth's political form. MDZZ, another Doctor Doom. The British Foreign Secretary could not help but curse in a low voice after receiving the news. Just as he finished speaking, a cold male voice came from the simultaneous translator he was wearing. "Who are you talking about, MDZZ?" The voice was very majestic, and there was a cold and decisive breath of killing between the words. The foreign minister felt that the voice was a little familiar, but he couldn't remember who it was for a while. "I'm behind you." The voice sounded again when the foreign minister looked around. The foreign minister turned around and said, "Oh my God. How come Doom is sitting behind him?" Although Doom has now restored his face, he still chooses to wear his iron mask most of the time. Because the iron mask gives him a kind of cold majesty, and it is also his signature. The British Foreign Secretary was almost frightened and fell under the table when he saw Doom. Because Doom is a petty person, he can only accept praise but not ridicule. He can only accept commendatory words and cannot tolerate derogatory words. You can say good things about him, but you are absolutely not allowed to say bad things about him. If you want to speak ill of Doom in public, you must be prepared to be killed or have your legs blown off by Doom. Many Hollywood directors and actors who have made movies satirizing Latveria and Doom have been blown up to the sky or had their legs blown off by Doom. And those guys who claim to be free media can only bully those who are soft persimmons and those who follow the rules and don't do anything to them. Look at the so-called mainstream media, the mouthpieces of Western freedom. Which one dares to speak ill of Latveria and Doom in public? No. Not one. Because Doom has a strong desire for revenge. If you don't want to be blown up by him, then please keep your mouth shut. He is not a person who plays by the rules. He is like a domineering president described in some absurd novels. The kind of guy who wants to be the only one in the world. He doesn't care whether the guy who speaks bad about him is the so-called free media, the conscience of Hollywood, or a government official of a country. This guy will always find various ways to retaliate against you. Maybe the most direct way is to blow off a leg, or it may be to launch a network offensive to publicize your scandal and expose your hidden deposits. Anyway, Doom probably has 100 ways to make you unable to survive on Earth. Yes, he is such a petty person. But Doom calls this a happy revenge. You can be unhappy with me, but no matter how unhappy you are, please shut up. You can only think about it in your heart. As long as you dare to make your dissatisfaction public, then I'm sorry, I will implement my attack. Didn't you say that I am petty, dictatorial, and domineering? Then let you taste my pettiness, dictatorial and domineering. Doesn't this make your words more credible? Exclamation mark. Doom just sat behind the foreign minister and looked at him with cold eyes. The two of them met eyes for about 10 seconds, and the foreign minister couldn't help but give in. But Doom didn't intend to let him go, because if he let him go, the persona he had built up for many years would be ruined. In the division of labor within the Illuminati, Doom's most important job is to sell his persona of Dr. Doom. If Captain Rogers is the biggest red face in the Illuminati, then Doom is the biggest white face in the Illuminati. He snorted coldly at the foreign minister. How much is your bank deposit in the Netherlands? Well, £500,000 is not much. Doom began to frantically check the foreign minister's dirty data, and asked Tony and Dr. Hank outside the venue to help check. Tony, have we become Dr. Doom's working brothers again? Hank, work hard, finish early and leave early. I have a date tonight. Tony, wait, what do you mean by date? The three smartest people in the world committed computer crimes to collect dirty data, and there is no network firewall in the world that can hide his secrets. But it's really interesting. Your nephew opened a shell company in Finland. Selling pulp? It actually received more than €5 million in angel venture capital in 1 year. The chain restaurant run by your nephew 3 years ago went bankrupt, but before that, there were also angel venture capital investments of more than €4 million. This is really a coincidence. With every word Doom said, the foreign minister sweated more. In fact, politicians who can climb to this position, who doesn't have some dirty things under their butts? The transaction of power and money is already the smallest and least worth mentioning thing, but this is not worth mentioning only because everyone does not break this window paper. Now Doomu is going to take revenge on the foreign minister. You dare to say that I am MDZZ? Let me see who is MDZZ. Doomu snorted coldly. Your Excellency, enjoy your last term. I will make public everything you have done and everything that happened to your family, including the detailed process of how to devour the property of innocent small business owners. Prepare to spend the rest of your life in prison. Doom did not deliberately lower the volume of this last sentence, so not only the foreign minister heard it, but also everyone around him. Everyone looked back and saw that the foreign minister of the shit-stirring empire had completely collapsed to the ground. And Doom stood proudly with his iron face. Some people couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. You are just the foreign minister of the shit-stirring empire, and you dare to go against the world's strongest and biggest shit-stirring. Isn't this a crushing attribute? You have to wait for the day to die. However, when they saw Doom appear, everyone was shocked. If the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland was the strongest troublemaker in Europe, then Latveria and Doom were the biggest troublemakers in the world. For example, if he hadn't suddenly intervened in the last mutant incident, how could the Western countries be caught off guard? And now, what is the biggest troublemaker on Earth going to do? Everyone's eyes were on Doom. And Doom also walked up to the chairman's podium in a grand manner. Chapter 1043. Let's go it alone. Doom walked up to the podium. Captain Rogers had just calmed down Black Bolt. It seemed that Captain Rogers had not expected Doom to go up to the podium so directly, so Captain Rogers had no time to stop him. Because Latveria contributed to the invasion of the Dark Elves, and the political form of modern society is changing too fast. All countries have to recognize that Latveria is a legitimate country with international rights. So it is normal for the President, Emperor, of Latveria to appear on this occasion, although no one invited him to speak on the stage. But watching Doom walk up to the stage to speak, no one intends to stop him. Because stopping him may not be a good outcome. Didn't you see that the foreign minister of the troublemaker empire fainted? It's better not to go forward and try how sharp Doom's anger is. Everyone here, are you out of your mind? Doom said to all the leaders in the audience after he came on stage. Or did you buy your votes? Oh, yes, you can buy votes in a capitalist society. I forgot that. This is my fault. Please forget what I just said. There may be idiots who can get in here by paying money. Even though Doom had recovered as a super handsome guy, he was still a master at attracting hatred. His taunt instantly angered the leaders and representatives of various countries below. The U.S. Secretary of State stood up angrily, pointed at Doom and said, "What do you mean, Doom? Do you really think you can do whatever you want? Don't forget, this is America, this is New York." Doom pretended not to hear the Secretary of State's speech. He scratched his ears and said, "Wait, what are you talking about? This is New York, America? Wait. If I remember correctly, the United Nations headquarters building is an international area. The location of this building belongs to the international community, and no country has the right to own this land. Or has the United States realized that it is the boss of the world? Who is doing whatever it wants?" As a professional sarcasm, Doom's eloquence is very good. Especially this kind of ups and downs of tone is much more charming, hateful, than the hard and lifeless electronic synthesized voice of Black Bolt. The Secretary of State was speechless for a while because of Doom's words. He pointed at Doom and couldn't speak for a while. "Put your hands down, Mr. Secretary of State. If you don't know, you might think you're having a seizure." Doom waved his hands nonchalantly. He continued to mock and say, "Everyone here, have you used your brains to think about the problem? I'm talking about your brains, not your butts. Now please move your butts away from your seats for a while and use your brains to think about the problem." Doom's seemingly vulgar words implied a political implication. The problem we are facing now is not whether Mr. Black Bolt is telling the truth or not. But there is indeed a fleet of aliens stationed near Pluto. After Doom finished speaking, he glanced at Black Bolt and asked, "Can your fleet defeat this alien fleet?" Black Bolt shook his head in the audience. Doom nodded to show that he understood. Then he said to everyone present, "So isn't the choice before us very obvious now? Which country here thinks that its military force can compete with Black Bolt's Illuminati space fleet?" Doom's speech made the scene silent. Even the U.S. Secretary of State did not speak. In fact, he has been doing public relations work for Black Bolt these days. He hopes that the United States can form an alliance with the Inhumans. It would be best if they could obtain some super technology from them. But Black Bolt has always been very conservative and does not seem to want to make his technology public. It seems that no one thinks they can defeat Black Bolt's Illuminati fleet, right? Doom said this very bluntly, but such blunt words made everyone present a little uneasy. In this case, There is a space fleet parked near our Pluto that is so powerful that the Inhumans, Illuminati, cannot deal with it. In this case, they have proposed a request for cooperation. You are still hesitating here. Are you crazy? Doom said in a contemptuous tone. Or are you still thinking about problems with the conventional political ideas on Earth? Wake up, you fat-headed people. Move your big bellies. Lift your fat and wide buttocks from your comfortable leather sofa for a while. Just for a while. I promise you won't lose this leather sofa just because you lift it up for a while. Just move your big bellies and fat buttocks to a different place, let blood flow into your brain, and let your brain, which has not worked for a long time, start working. You will understand what I say. Doom was as sarcastic as he could. Your simultaneous interpreters are all fine, right? Whether I speak Cyrillic, English or French, you can understand, right? Now I want to say to you in Chinese, MDZZ. This MDZZ was translated into different languages of various countries and entered the ears of representatives or leaders of various countries, and many people's faces changed again. At their position, not many people dare to speak rudely to them. And at this level, no matter how many dirty things everyone did in the past, they are now beasts in human clothing. Be polite when speaking. And now, the foul language and various ridicules that Doom used in just half an hour have already made many people lose face. But the British Foreign Secretary has been paralyzed, and the US Secretary of State has chosen to remain silent. The remaining among the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council also secretly observed and remained silent. So the leaders and representatives of other countries can only swallow their anger. Now whoever stands out is an idiot. Everyone has the same idea about Doom in their hearts. If I can't beat you, I would have killed you long ago. Do you still think we have a choice now? Doom pointed at all the representatives in the audience and said, in fact, there is only one choice in front of us now. That is cooperation. After saying this, Doom completely ignored the reactions of the audience and walked straight off the stage. He walked to the side of Black Bolt and said to him, I believe everything you said. Latvia and the new Eastern European Alliance expressed their willingness to contact alien civilizations with the Inhumans. Black Bolt looked Doom up and down, then smiled at the corners of his mouth. He said approvingly in an electronic synthesized voice, finally, there is still a smart person. The feeling of mutual appreciation between the two was like that of old friends for many years. Sure enough, only dictators have common topics? Wait. Are the two of them going to leave the venue? Are they going to leave the other countries on Earth and go it alone? Now some people have come to their senses. Doom is using a scolding to improve the Inhumans' favor and show his loyalty. He is treating everyone as a stepping stone. This guy is not only narrow-minded but also extremely treacherous. Doom seemed to be chatting and laughing with Black Bolt, and they seemed to have completely ignored the representatives of other countries in the venue. Chapter 1044 Do I Deceived? The mutual admiration between Black Bolt and Doom is not a good sign. The two of them are going to get mixed up. And if they get mixed up, ordinary people probably can't say anything. The two dictators are admiring each other. You praise me for my courage, I praise you for your level, chatting and laughing happily. It's like they are leaving other countries behind and preparing to go it alone. And Doom seems to be planning to invite Black Bolt to the Castle of Destruction as a guest and ask him to taste the fine wine produced in Latvia. This is not a good sign. Would this leave all other countries on the Earth behind? There are still many countries counting on the Inhumans to provide various support. Because now everyone knows that the birth of Inhumans is similar to that of mutants. But the Inhuman genes need to go to the royal city of Adelan to be baptized by Terry and the Frog before they mutate, otherwise the Inhumans will be no different from ordinary people. Every year, the Inhumans regularly accept a group of Inhumans who are willing to follow them to Adelan to leave the Earth. They have been doing this for thousands of years, but they strictly control the number. So many people on Earth really haven't discovered it. After all, there are 7 billion people in the world, and even if a few thousand people disappear every year, it's not a big deal. It's too normal. And other countries on Earth don't know that the Inhumans have the problem of reproductive isolation. This problem will soon disappear with the intervention of the Illuminati. So many countries are still thinking about getting more contact with the Inhumans, and see if they can find their own citizens in Adelan, and then play the emotional card or something. Let them reveal some high technology to their country, play some patriotic feelings or something, although it may not be useful. Inhumans are a group with a particularly strong sense of belonging, and they are very different from mutants in this regard. Now everyone is watching that everything they planned is going to go to waste, and Black Bolt is about to be fooled by doom and never look back. Now everyone is finally anxious. The first to react and beg for help was Director Rogers. He walked quickly to the front of Black Bolt and Doom and stretched out his hand to stop the two. "Wait, Mr. Black Bolt. You are not really going to leave, are you?" Captain Rogers stopped the two and whispered to them. The U.S. Secretary of State, who was sitting far away, let out a long sigh. He whispered to the people around him, "At this time, the key to human nature is still seen." Director Rogers still has a big picture view. He knows that we will definitely not be able to get off the stage after being scolded by Doom. He ran over to make peace. As long as Captain Rogers can convince Black Bolt and Doom, they will give us a ladder and we will slide down the pole. The assistant next to him deeply agreed with what the Secretary of State said. The same conversation also took place in the dialogue and exchanges between representatives of China, France, Russia and other countries. Everyone watched the progress of Captain Rogers' coordination from afar. It seemed that there was a very fierce debate over there, but both sides were very restrained and did not raise the volume to quarrel. It seemed that it was just a debate with more intense words. Black Bolt and Doom were writing something to Director Rogers, and then Director Rogers nodded and shook his head. The two sides were deadlocked, and finally Director Rogers seemed to have whispered a lot to the two. Finally, Black Bolt and Doom looked at each other, waved their hands and stopped at the sidelines. Rogers said to the audience who walked up to the podium quickly, "Ladies and gentlemen, the current situation is not within the scope of most of us. It can be said that various emergency plans are not enough at this time. There is a powerful fleet docked at the edge of our solar system, and this fleet is just the tip of the iceberg of a powerful civilization. And Black Bolt has communicated with the other party. The fleet called Chitauri that attacked us is actually just a part of the interstellar pirates." Captain Rogers' words made the atmosphere in the audience very solemn. We eliminated one of the branches, and they may have the power behind them to retaliate. Director Rogers said confidently. "In fact, we don't have many choices, everyone. When facing alien guns, they will not care about your nationality. It doesn't matter whether you are American, British, Chinese, French, or Russian. An attack on a planet or a civilization will never distinguish which branch of the civilization you belong to. We don't have many choices right now, and Black Bolt has already contacted the other side. This fleet called the Nova Corps may pay us a state visit, but in order not to cause unnecessary panic, they will most likely not land on Earth. Instead, they will choose to communicate in space. The Inhumans have expressed their willingness to receive them, and are also willing to accept some representatives from other countries to come out and receive them together." What Rogers said here was actually another ladder for representatives from various countries to step down, and this time he appropriately threw out a ladder for Black Bolt to step down. However, the other fleet has also put forward some supply requirements, and this part of the supply needs to be borne by the countries on Earth. This is considered a step back for everyone to ease the rigid situation just now. However, those who had never dealt with alien civilizations were a little scared. After many people looked at each other, the French representative asked, "Supply." Although there was only one word, everyone could hear the meaning behind it. He was asking what the supply was and whether the Earth could bear it. "Don't worry, the supply proposed by the other party is within the acceptable range. Including some food and water, etc., the quantity is not particularly large. But this time this supply is voluntary supply. The other party helped us defeat the Chitauri pirates, so I think this request is not excessive." Captain Rogers made things clear to the representatives. After that, Black Bolt came on stage again. Although his face was not very good, at least he did not leave in anger. It seems that Captain Rogers' persuasion is still useful. "Everyone, the times are different. We should look at things from a development perspective. Otherwise, we will inevitably be eliminated by this era." Black Bolt said this sentence with great meaning, and his eyes swept over everyone present. While Black Bolt, Doom and Rogers were performing a play at the United Nations, a play was also being performed in Li Ji's home, an action play. The horse-faced wizard's hands were blazing with fire. He looked at Thor with a look of grief and anger and shouted, "Where's my fountain of wisdom? You promised to give it to me." Thor pinched his nose and said, "It's gone. Anyway, it's gone. I can't get it. Maybe my brother drank it all. You lied to me." Strang was very angry. "Even if I lied to you, so what?" Thor looked indifferent. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 1045. Where is hope? How dare you lie to me? Have you forgotten the oath you made? Strange was very angry, and his anger could be fully expressed by the flames burning on his hands. It seemed that his magic level, at least the level of Fireball, was very high. Li Ji suspected that Strange joined a mysterious organization composed of 3 letters after Alaska broke up with him, and became the backbone of the organization, becoming an indescribable great wizard. And now, Strange's anger could not be suppressed. He asked loudly, "Have you forgotten your soul's oath? You swore that you would not be able to ascend to the throne of God King of Asgard. If you break this oath, your soul will fall into the sea of suffering." Thor picked his ears. "Yes, so I plan to fulfill my promise. I can't find a fountain of wisdom for you, so I don't plan to ascend the throne of Asgard. This is a soul oath. I know you have lived longer than me and may be able to default on me. But you have to understand that this oath will accompany you throughout your life. Even if I die, this oath will still be in effect. It can even be said that after I die, you will never be able to complete this task. You will never be able to ascend to the throne of Asgard." Strange emphasized the importance of this oath. "Yes, I know very well. I made the oath." Thor nodded, looking very clear and understanding. "I know what the worst outcome is. I know very well. So I don't need you to remind me. So I'm ready. When I have time, I will probably go back to the center of the endless sea to help you find the fountain of wisdom or something. If my father Odin still has some left, I will bring it back for you, if there's any. Before that, I will never ascend the throne. If I can't complete this task after you die, then let me never ascend the throne in my life. This is my oath. I am a person who keeps my promises and I will definitely keep it." Strange was almost vomiting blood because of Thor. He had seen shameless people before, but this was the first time he had seen such a shameless person. How could he be so shameless as the great prince of Asgard and the god of thunder who was famous in the 9 realms? Who did he learn this shamelessness from? "You despicable, shameless fellow, who did you learn these damn things from? Do you still have any self-respect as a god? You promised not to break your oath." Strange used provocation. "Who did you learn it from?" Thor looked around and found that Li Ji and Lan were preparing dinner in the kitchen. Because Black Bolt just called and said he wanted to eat lasagna with gravy. Li Ji had never made this dish before, so he was trying to make it now. Thor's eyes stayed on Li Ji for 3 seconds. Li Ji noticed that Thor was looking at him, and he used his mouth to compare Storm's photo. Thor immediately looked away, and Lan just felt Thor's gaze, as if Li Ji and Thor had just communicated something extraordinary. Lan asked, "What happened to you just now?" "Nothing. I was just observing the conflict between Thor and the Supreme Sorcerer's substitute. Do you think we need to mediate?" Li Ji changed the subject. Lan looked at the 2 people in the distance and said, "If any of you dare to break anything in my house, I will throw you into the Mariana Trench. I will settle the score with you for destroying my basement last time." Thor, Strange, promised not. Lan turned around and looked at Li Ji. "Okay, the fight is over. Li Ji." Thor spread his hands in front of Strange. "Look, it's actually no big deal, right? I said I would accept the punishment. Put away your flames. You just heard what Lan said. If you want to burn anything, you will be thrown into the Mariana Trench to feed the jellyfish. Unless you are willing to go there to find SpongeBob SquarePants and Patrick Star or the legendary Gremlins, an American animation." Thor is a super dad with a group of children. So he also watched a lot of cartoons with his children, such as SpongeBob SquarePants, Gremlins, the Powerpuff Girls and so on. And he found Teletubbies inexplicably scary, and he was a little suspicious about how this thing was classified as a children's program. "Okay, I told Strange to put away the flames first. Li Ji came out to smooth things over. Come on, try my new lasagna with meat sauce. I'm trying to adjust the ratio of meat sauce and cheese. Do you think the taste is acceptable now?" Li Ji waved a plate of pasta in front of Strange. Strange really felt a little hungry after smelling the smell. He and Thor had been arguing for a long time, and he had been maintaining the flame-burning special effects, which was very energy-consuming. "By the way, how high is the flame in your hand?" Li Ji suddenly asked. I control it at 300 degrees. Strange answered subconsciously. Oh. Li Ji said, and then brought a plate of bacon slices to use the heat of the flame in Strange's hand to roast the bacon. After the bacon was roasted by the fierce fire, the fat released a lot of fragrance, and the fragrance of fat requires the most heat to cook. Li Ji used iron chopsticks to roast bacon slice by slice, and said while roasting, "Stretch out your hands, right, straighten them. Make the flame more even, and control the blue outer flame. Not bad, this temperature is just right. Bacon roasted with open flames is more flavorful than frying in an iron pan. Your flame is just right, saving me from lighting the fire. Strange. I'm not a human-shaped stove. Then put away your flame." Li Ji glanced at him. Finally, Strange put away the flame with a snort, and the battle ended without a word under Li Ji's stirring. "I know you are angry, Strange. You need the Fountain of Wisdom to replace the magic potion of Kamartaki." Li Ji patted Strange's shoulder, and at the same time put the lasagna in front of him and put a few slices of freshly roasted bacon on it for him to eat first. "But isn't it pretty good now? Except that the Dawn 101 hair growth water is used more, there is no particular disadvantage." Li Ji patted Strange's shoulder earnestly. "But this is different." Strange used a fork to pierce the lasagna fiercely. "This is different. It's like I rely on drugs to maintain myself every day. I'm a doctor. This feeling is terrible." Li Ji was helpless. He turned his head and looked at Lan. "Lan, isn't there a wizard in Kamartaki who doesn't lose his hair after taking this magic potion?" Lan thought for a while. "Yes." "Who?" "Our senior brother of Kamartaki, Baron Mordo. At least I see that he doesn't lose his hair, and he shouldn't use hair growth water or something." Lan's answer ignited Strange's hope. Strange hurriedly asked, "Where's he?" He wanted to ask the secret of maintaining hair. "He is a temple wizard in the London temple. If you want to find him, you have to go to London." As soon as Lan finished speaking, Strange ate the lasagna quickly and in big mouthfuls. He wanted to find Baron Mordo after eating quickly. Thor picked up a piece of freshly baked bacon from the plate, took a bite and said, "He has thick hair without hair growth lotion." Lan, "Yes." Thor waved his hands. "He's also wearing a wig." Strange glared at him. Chapter 1046 Baron Mordo. For Strange, Lan's words were undoubtedly a guiding star in the darkness. It lit up a little light in his gloomy life. As he said, he could no longer accept the days of taking drugs to keep his hair. After eating Li Ji's meat sauce lasagna, Strange set off for London. Although he had never been to the London temple, he had heard of it. Although Thor poured cold water on him before he left, saying maybe Baron Mordo is actually wearing a wig. But Strange still treated Thor's words as fart. How can there be so many coincidences in this world? Anyway, he didn't believe it. For Strange, what aliens came, what political reforms, all of this had nothing to do with him. What in the world is more important than keeping your beautiful hair? Nothing. He knew Baron Mordo. He was the eldest disciple of the Ancient One, and except for the king, he was the person who had followed the Ancient One for the longest time. Baron Mordo was born in a noble family in Europe and had a hereditary noble title. His Baron title is the title inherited from his family. Baron Mordo is a serious European white man, or a slightly arrogant European noble white man. He has a very outstanding magical talent. He was spotted by Ancient One in his youth and was chosen as an apprentice. Originally, as the eldest apprentice, Baron Mordo should be the closest person to Ancient One. Just like the old man with the stick and the rock, Daredevil's senior brother, Matt, Daredevil, David, Kick-Ass. Because in the traditional Asian relationship map, the master-disciple relationship is the most important relationship second only to the blood relationship of parents. However, as Baron Mordo gradually grew older, his relationship with Ancient One gradually became estranged, and there was no such close relationship as father and son. This is exactly the opposite of Lan. Although Lan and Ancient One have a master-disciple relationship, they are essentially like father and daughter. In the end, Baron Mordo was sent out of Kamartaki by Ancient One to London to manage the London Temple. This can also be regarded as Mordo's hometown. In this way, it seems that Ancient One still takes good care of Baron Mordo. But everyone has different ideas. Some things and some people seem to be caring. But in the eyes of the parties involved, it may be an exile. The master kicked me out of the core circle. This is what Baron Mordo said to himself in the monastery of the London Temple. He is different from the Ancient One in many ways. The Ancient One was born 500 years ago and was a farmer's child. When he grew up, he studied magic and lived a hard life. He was used to a relatively poor life. The Ancient One is very capable, but he basically does not pursue material enjoyment. It can be seen from the food in Kamar-Taji that simple dishes such as boiled yak meat and plain water are daily meals. The rough and even slightly turbid barley wine, brewed by herdsmen, is the daily drink of the Ancient One. Mordo, who was born in an aristocratic family, actually finds it difficult to accept all this. He has been used to fine clothes and delicious food since he was a child. He did have a hard time following the Ancient One to learn magic in his youth. But since he has achieved a small success in magic, Mordo will find ways to improve his life. From food to the use of utensils, they will be improved. Now, most of the tableware used in Kamar-Taji is the common wooden tableware and black pottery tableware in the pastoral area, and a small amount of porcelain is also used. However, Baron Mordo himself uses a complete set of pure silver tableware and a set of beautiful crystal cups, which are carefully carved from plates to cups. Mordo is even more particular about food. He needs a certain year of red wine to match a certain flavor of steak. What kind of drink is suitable for caviar in the afternoon, etc. Mordo's pursuit is grown from his bones. He is a hereditary noble, and his family has passed down these traditions and ancestral etiquette for nearly 1,000 years. Ancient One does not like Mordo like this, because he thinks that excessive pursuit of external materials will make people lose themselves in the pursuit of magic. However, these things are just minor details, not a matter of principle. After all, everyone has their own way of living. Ancient One cannot demand that Mordo be content with poverty like himself. But when Mordo increasingly showed that he liked things on the material level, Ancient One made the decision to let him go to London. From then on, Mordo was transferred out of Kamar-Taji. Just like in ancient times, officials had to be officials in Beijing, because only officials in Beijing had more opportunities to see the emperor. Only by leaving a deep impression in front of the emperor could one climb higher. Mordo was sent to the London Temple as a garrison temple mage. The Ancient One gave him freedom and let him live the life he wanted. But at the same time, it was equivalent to kicking Mordo out of the core competition circle. What is the competition for? Don't forget that the greatest legacy of the Ancient One is the status of the Supreme Mage, and the Ancient One's initiation of the next Supreme Mage before he stepped down. Initiation is not like passing on one's internal strength to others in martial arts novels, and then turning a rookie into a master. Instead, it is a special method for the Ancient One to pass on the knowledge he has mastered throughout his life to the next mage. How much you can master depends on your personal talent, but the magical attainments and various unique understandings accumulated by the Ancient One over hundreds of years are a huge treasure that cannot be added. This is a very tempting thing, but now all this has nothing to do with Mordo. Because he was driven out of Kamar-Taji and became a temple mage in London. He actually didn't like it very much, because London had the Greenwich School left by the great wizard Merlin. And there was a little conflict in philosophy between the Greenwich faction and the Kamar-Taji faction. Among the three major wizard temples, the London Temple was the most difficult to manage. It was necessary to balance the relationship between Greenwich and Kamar-Taji, protect the underground palace legacy of the great wizard Merlin, and do what every temple had to do, that is, to maintain the stability of the Earth's space and prevent the invasion of the alien dimension. Mordo was not very happy, especially now that he knew that the Ancient One actually accepted two new apprentices. One was the famous Dr. Doom Doom, and the other was an unknown person Strange. Originally, Mordo still had a little hope in his heart, and he fantasized that he could inherit the mantle of the Ancient one day. Because the Ancient One said a long time ago that he would not give the position of the Supreme Sorcerer to Lan. And besides Lan, the Ancient One only had one apprentice. So when the Ancient One was about to step down, his position would definitely be passed on to himself. But now the two new apprentices broke the last bit of fantasy in Mordo's heart. In the ashram, Mordo felt that his meditation was not very good. He could not calm down, and always felt that something was going to happen. After leaving the ashram, he was going to have a drink to relax. At this time, a message came. Steve Strange, the fourth and youngest disciple of the Ancient One, requests an audience. P.S. In Marvel Comics, Mordo is white and was born into a traditional aristocratic family. The Marvel movie forcibly changed him to a black man for political correctness. The movie doesn't matter, but if the book still follows the setting of the movie, then a lot of the story will be weakened. I can't write that a black man is a hereditary noble in Europe. But if he is not a hereditary noble, The value conflict between Mordo and the Ancient One will not arise. So everyone forget the movie and follow my setting. Chapter 1047 Very Important Things. Strange came to see me. Mordo was a little surprised, because he hadn't been back to Kamartaki for a long time. Even when Master Ancient One accepted 2 new apprentices, he didn't go back. Since he hadn't met the 2, there was no way he knew Strange and Doom. Since he didn't know them, why did Strange come to see him? Reminisce about the past? No, there was no past for him and Strange to reminisce about. Visiting the temple in London? Come on, how long has this guy been a disciple of Master Ancient One? How many magics has he learned? Being able to use the portal stably is already a great thing. What kind of class is he visiting in the temple? Although Mordo didn't know what Strange was doing here. But this didn't prevent him from deciding to meet Strange, because he was also curious about why Strange came to see him. What kind of person is this person who may inherit the position of Supreme Sorcerer? Mordo felt a little weird in his heart. He chose his residence above the temple to meet Strange. Although the London temple does not look big from the outside, the space inside is several times larger than it looks from the outside. Every inch of land here has been cast with a space expansion spell. Baron Mordo's house is very luxurious. The rosewood slabs shipped from Myanmar are cut into small pieces and laid on the floor. The agarwood from the South China Sea is placed in the northeast corner, and a faint fragrance floats in the air. Soft cushions made of velvet are neatly placed in one corner of the room, and a Steinway grand piano is placed on the other side. There's even a bar in this room, which can provide various drinks. There are at least more than 1,000 bottles of various wines stored in the wine cabinet on one wall. In order to match these wines, there is also a set of crystal glasses with different characteristics in the room. This makes drinking very ritualistic. And all this makes Strange, who just walked into the room, feel extremely familiar and comfortable. XXX. Isn't this XX replica of my home? Exclamation mark. Strange was sighing in his heart, the comfort brought to him by this room. Because everything in this room is very suitable for his appetite. As a world-class neurosurgeon, Strange has always been worth a lot of money. His annual income of tens of millions of dollars is not just talk. Rich Strange likes all kinds of enjoyment. Sports cars, famous watches, red wine. All kinds of luxury goods that can highlight his status and taste. All of these are his favorites. Although for various reasons, he finally chose to join Doctors Without Borders and gave up such a life. In the end, he was captured by someone and given to Ancient One as an apprentice, which led to a long period of poverty. Even now, he has to live in a basement, taking drugs, washing his hair, every day. But Strange is still very familiar with these things in his bones. Including the several oil paintings hung on the wall by Mordo, Strange stopped to watch for a while. Alexander the Great's Eastern Expedition, this looks more realistic than the collection of the Louvre. Strange couldn't help but say this after carefully examining it. Because this is real, the one in the Louvre is a fake. Mordo stood behind Strange without knowing when. He glanced at Strange and said, "Strange. It's me. Thank you for meeting me, respected Baron Mordo." Strange saluted Mordo. Among the status of the Earth's wizards, the Supreme Sorcerer is the highest, followed by the 3 major temple wizards. Next is the Guardian Wizard who guards the temple, and then the Formal Wizard. Strange is currently at the bottom of this pyramid. He is only a wizard apprentice. He needs to show his respect to the temple wizards. Mordo looks Strange up and down. The man in front of him looked more advanced than he looked. Well, the advanced feeling in the eyes of Europeans, maybe horse-face can be considered a kind of. And it seems that he is also studying oil painting? Mordo had an inexplicable feeling that Strange and himself were of the same kind. "Are you my teacher's new disciple?" Mordo nodded in return. "Oh, yes. I think so. I am probably the youngest one." Strange smiled. Mordo said with the majesty of a senior brother, "Sit down first." "Sit on the cushions?" Strange asked curiously. Because he didn't see any stools in this room, the only place that seemed to be able to sit was the velvet cushions, and he was about to approach. Mordo glanced at Strange. "If you don't want to cause trouble, you'd better not get close to there." "What?" Strange was puzzled. "I have a very fierce cat there, you may not be able to beat it." Mordo said lightly that Strange's fighting ability was not as good as a cat. "Ah. Where is the cat?" Strange suddenly felt that he wanted to pet the cat. He was actually not as good as a cat? Just kidding. It's invisible, you can't see it. Mordo said so, and Strange's desire to pet the cat was gone. Well, if you can't see it, who knows if he is petting the cat? Sit, Mordo said again, and just after he finished speaking, a stool appeared behind Strange. Strange raised his eyebrows and sat down, although he was very resistant to being forced to learn magic at first. But after really entering the ocean of magic, he began to be fascinated. Magic can do all kinds of interesting things, such as now. Mordo asked again, what to drink? I probably only have wine here. Drinking during the day? Well, it's not impossible, just pay attention to the alcohol content. Strange replied, Belgian beer. As soon as he finished speaking, a bottle of Belgian beer suddenly appeared in Strange's hand. Strange was really thirsty. He raised his head and took a big sip. But a magical thing happened. He obviously drank nearly half of the beer, but the beer in the glass didn't seem to decrease at all. Or even if it decreased, it was quickly refilled. It was as if there was an invisible servant pouring wine all the time. How did you do this? Strange was full of curiosity. Mordo smiled lightly. Do a little of this, a little of that. You will learn it later. I usually use this trick to teach those ignorant foreign gods and demons a lesson. Bet with them to drink, but they will find that the wine in the cup can never be finished. Strange clapped his hands. Good idea. Can you give me this magic? Strange thought of how to deal with Alaska. A certain Thor loves to drink. Mordo smiled but did not say anything. He changed the subject. These are all trivial matters. I don't think you came to me for such boring trivial matters. Tell me, what do you want to ask me for? Strange sat upright and said in a serious tone, Yes, Baron Mordo. I am here to ask you about a very difficult and urgent matter. This matter is very important, and even concerns my future life. Strange said so seriously that Mordo was shocked after listening. Could it be that he came to ask about the position of the Supreme Sorcerer? Is he determined to get this position? Mordo unconsciously became serious, and he was waiting for Strange's next words with all his strength. Strange continued to say very seriously, Please tell me how you take care of your hair. This is related to my future life. Chapter 1048 This is not Harry Potter. Can you give me your secret of hair care? Please, this is related to my future happiness. Strange was so sincere that he almost bowed down to Mordo. Mordo, who had been listening to Strange's words carefully, was suddenly stunned. Did he think he was hallucinating? Or did Strange cast a very powerful confusion spell on him, messing up his hearing? Mordo held his breath and concentrated, clearing all distracting thoughts, with no sadness or joy in his heart. He entered a state of unity between man and nature, and then said in an ethereal voice, Please repeat your request just now. I mean, respected Baron Mordo. Well, this paragraph is very normal, without any fluctuations in magic. I want to make a small request to you. This is also normal. Can you give me the secret of your hair care? How can I keep my hair as thick and black as yours after drinking the magic water? You even combed your hair into very imposing big back hair, and your hair is as lush as the Amazon rainforest. It's really enviable. Here it comes. I was hallucinating again. Was this a powerful confusion spell? Mordo tried his best to investigate, but in the end, he found nothing. There was no magical fluctuation, no confusion spell, and no hallucination spell. Mordo ruled out all possibilities, and in the end, he seemed to have found the truth. He stared into Strange's eyes and said, Are you serious? You came to me for this. Strange nodded desperately. He was very serious. Mordo looked at Strange for a long time without saying a word. This guy came to me just for this? He said that it was related to his future. Should it be for the position of Supreme Sorcerer or something? Shouldn't he be scheming against Doom? The two of them are candidates for the position of Supreme Sorcerer. His purpose of coming here should be to win over his senior brother, to make him his helper, and then fight against Doom. It should be like a palace infighting drama or a power struggle drama within a big family. At that moment, I had already thought about how to deal with Strange's enticement. And he also calculated how to maximize his own interests, and even whether he could take advantage of Strange's opportunity to participate in the fight for the position of Supreme Sorcerer. He thought about so many problems and came up with so many countermeasures in an instant. There was even a plan to win over and corrupt Strange, but what was this guy talking about? The problem he was considering was to keep his hair from falling out? You don't know how to use Dawn 101. Do you need to ask me this question? This is a waste of my time. Mordo looked at Strange and said softly, Get out. What? Strange didn't hear it clearly. I told you to get out. Mordo waved his sleeves, and Strange felt dizzy. It seemed that Mordo used space magic to teleport him directly out of the London temple. Because the vibration of space magic was a bit strong, Strange felt like motion sickness. It took him a long time to come to his senses. He turned around a few times in a daze before he determined his position. The huge London Eye was not far away, and he seemed to be still in London. Strange was a little puzzled. He didn't know what he had just said had angered Mordo. He just wanted a secret to maintain his hair so that he could escape from his drug-taking life. That was all. Why did Mordo suddenly drive him away? It didn't make sense at all. Strange thought about it and wondered if something he had just said had violated some taboos. For example, in the wizard world, the word hair is a taboo, because many male wizards have no hair. Of course, there are also a small number of female wizards who are willing to take magic water, and of course their hair has fallen out. Because everyone has had long hair, once they lose it, they feel lost. Then, did they list hair as a taboo? Strange felt that this explanation made sense. Because the Ancient One also had no hair, this was probably the so-called respect for the respected. Strange thought that he should go to the temple later. If he went now, Mordo might still be angry. Although Strange couldn't figure out why Mordo was angry, Mordo was one of the 3 temple wizards. Even if he couldn't get his hair care secrets, at least he shouldn't leave a bad impression on him because of such a small matter. It was unnecessary. Strange decided to go to Mordo later. Now in London, Strange could find some fun to kill time. For example, go to King's Cross Station to see Platform 9, 3/4. Because of the global popularity of Harry Potter, Platform 9 3/4 in the book has also become a world-famous attraction. Many people fantasize about being able to cross Platform 9, 3/4 and take the train to Hogwarts just like the story in the book. This is the intersection of magic and reality, and countless muggles are flocking to it. Strange looked at the iconic photo spot set up at Platform 9 3/4, a trolley half embedded in the wall. Strange looked at the muggles around him who came forward to grab the trolley to take pictures, pretending that they could also get on the train to Hogwarts. Strange inexplicably developed a sense of superiority. Muggles, do you know that there is a real wizard standing next to you? This feeling of secret joy is an indescribable comfort. However, Strange was interrupted by the young couple behind him before he could enjoy himself for long. If you want to take pictures, hurry up, we are still queuing. Unconsciously, Strange joined the crowd queuing to take pictures on the half cart. Everyone held the cart and posed in various ways, learning the plots in the movie. And now it seems to be Strange's turn. Well, since we are here, this is also a famous attraction in London. Take a picture for yourself as a souvenir. Strange smiled while holding the cart. He is probably the oldest student in the history of Hogwarts. At the moment when the photographer in charge of taking pictures pressed the shutter, something strange happened. The half-cart that Strange was holding suddenly generated a huge suction force, as if a giant was pulling him forward at one end. Strange crashed into Platform 9 3/4, but there was no expected pain. He walked straight through the platform and entered another space, and the muggles outside the platform seemed not to notice what had just happened. No one was shocked by Strange's sudden disappearance. Everyone was still queuing up to take pictures as usual, and Platform 9 3/4 was still crowded. Strange was a little confused. What was going on? What happened to him? Could it be that there was actually another magic faction on this earth besides Kamardaki and Greenwich? Because if it wasn't magic, everything that was happening now could not be explained. He entered a deserted King's Cross station. Just as Strange was about to leave, a tall and handsome boy came over clapping his hands. He smiled and said, "Welcome new students to join us. Hogwarts train number 5927 is about to depart, and you are the only one missing." Ah. Chapter 1049. This is not Hogwarts. Strange was completely confused. What was going on? He just held the half of the cart for taking photos on Platform 9 3/4, and he was teleported to this place. Then a man clapped and said, "Welcome to join Hogwarts? Is there really a Hogwarts in this world?" Strange felt that his 3 views seemed to have been severely impacted. He no longer knew whether the man who appeared in front of him was really a student from Hogwarts. If it were in the past, Strange would definitely think that this was some kind of prank. But since he came into contact with magic, especially after staying at a chef's house for a while, many of his concepts have changed. This world is much wider than what he knows. After knowing that even a salted fish can be the 9 heavens thunder god on this world, Strange feels that there is nothing in this world that he cannot accept. Is there anything more absurd than this in the world? No. Absolutely not. So even if a middle-aged Daniel, Harry Potter, a young woman Emma Watson, Hermione Granger, and another person appeared in front of him, Strange would not be too surprised. After all, he already had a big heart and had seen everything. Climbing thousands of mountains and swimming thousands of rivers, Strange now has a heart that can't help but be moved. The man who appeared in front of him also took out a legendary magic wand, which was the same thing as the magic wand in the movie. Then he muttered, "Quickly show up." After the spell was finished, a train suddenly appeared on the empty track next to it. Looking from the window, the train was bustling with people, and countless students in magic robes were running around in the carriage. All these scenes seemed to be just as the man said. All the students were on the train, except for himself. "You are late, Mr. Strange. In fact, we should have delivered the letter to your window more than 20 years ago." The gentleman said so. But unfortunately, our owl had a stomachache, so it failed to deliver the letter. Then we encountered bird flu, and the muggles began to kill and drive away the birds in the city. The man shrugged. Then the bad thing happened. Voldemort appeared. You have read Harry Potter, right? In fact, the story in the book is true. We hypnotized J.K. Rowling and asked her to write down this story. Strange narrowed his eyes. Wait, you mean the story of Harry Potter is true? Why did you hypnotize J.K. Rowling and let her write this story down? To keep the children's fantasy. You know? Children nowadays are becoming more and more realistic. They no longer believe that there is Santa Claus in the world. They know that the toys in their socks are bought by their parents, and all this has nothing to do with Santa Claus. The gentle middle-aged man said helplessly. You know? If children lose the ability to imagine, they will never learn magic in their lives. Hogwarts magic requires imagination to learn. A group of realistic egoists cannot learn good magic. The words said by the middle-aged man seemed to be metaphorical. Children don't believe in Santa Claus, but they never know what Santa Claus has done for the world. When Santa Claus said, "There is no more Santa Claus in the world," you have no idea what he has been through. This is a painful decision. Strange was a little surprised when he heard this. Wait, what did you say? You mean there is Santa Claus in this world? Yes, at least he once existed. I don't know how to describe his rank. I don't know whether he should be classified as a wizard or a god. But it doesn't matter anymore, it's old news. Santa Claus has disappeared, but at least he once existed. The middle-aged man was talking about a secret that Strange didn't know at all. In order to maintain children's ability to imagine and be innocent, we asked J.K. Rowling to write Harry Potter based on real events, and tried every means to make it the world's best-selling children's fantasy literature. So most of the stories you have seen in movies or books are real, and some have been adapted. At that time, Voldemort appeared and disrupted the social order. We were forced to fight him. And those were the years when you were supposed to go to school. Everything was forced to stop. By the time we defeated Voldemort, you had missed the entrance ceremony. But God bless you, and you are now back, and just at platform 9 3/4. I couldn't wait to pull you in. Don't worry about the muggles outside. They won't find out. After all, muggles neither look well nor listen seriously. Strange inexplicably felt that the man's words were a little familiar, but he couldn't remember where he heard it from. The playful children on the train were still chasing and fighting. Train number 5927 blew its whistle and roared. Please, it's time to get on the train, Mr. Strange. It's not too late for you to enroll now. Although you are a little old, I believe your IQ is still useful, isn't it? The middle-aged man patted Strange on the shoulder. Strange felt that his memory seemed a little fuzzy. Everything seemed like a dream. He felt that he seemed to have forgotten something important. But he couldn't remember it even if he tried hard. He was about to follow the middle-aged man to board the train to Hogwarts in a daze. At this moment, Strange caught a glimpse of the badge on the man's chest. There was a name on it, Percy Weasley. The moment he saw the name, Strange stopped. He came back to his senses and said to the man named Percy, "Wait. I suspect this is not a train to Hogwarts. And you are not from Hogwarts." The middle-aged man frowned and asked, "Why?" "Because Percy Weasley is a guy with a strong desire for power. He will not honestly teach in a school like Hogwarts. And you cast a spell on me, right? You secretly cast a spell that made me lose my memory. I almost forgot that I am a teacher of the Ancient One. My teacher's name is Ancient One." When Strange said the word Ancient One, The whole world was quiet. The man disappeared, and the train disappeared. Platform 9 3/4 was quiet again. Clap, clap, a clapping sound suddenly appeared. A man and a woman walked from a distance. Chapter 1050 Merlin. A man and a woman walked towards Strange, and the woman clapped her hands as she walked. Strange looked at the two people. The man was handsome and mature, in his 20s, wearing clothes with a British college style. He looked like a young scholar, or a graduate student or doctoral student. The woman was dressed a bit like a rock girl. The strands of hair in front of her forehead were highlighted, and she was wearing a bright and beautiful leather jacket. Strange didn't know who these two people were, but maybe they were not as easy to get along with as they looked. If they were easy to get along with, they wouldn't set up something like an illusion. Speaking of which, his magic attainments were not high enough, and he didn't realize that this was an illusion trap at the first time. Strange really didn't expect that he would be tricked like this. When the man and the woman walked closer and closer, Strange subconsciously summoned the magician's hand. He asked loudly, "Who is coming?" Looking at Strange's serious appearance, the woman who was originally clapping her hands had a hint of an ambiguous smile on her lips. She spoke, her voice slightly hoarse but full of magnetism. "Are you really going to use this magic in front of me?" Strange frowned. "What do you mean? You are also a wizard? What do you want to do?" Strange wanted to ask too many questions. "You have too many questions, Mr. Strange. But I don't like people being on guard when I'm talking to them. Releasing magic is like a gun with the safety off. This is a dangerous and unfriendly behavior." The woman tilted her head and said this. "So, put your magic away first." "What?" Strange was surprised to find that when the woman finished speaking, the wizard's hand he had just prepared disappeared. The woman lightly eliminated Strange's magic, as if it was as easy as going to a convenience store on the street to buy soda. But the more this happened, the more uneasy Strange became. Being trapped in a strange space by two people whose backgrounds he didn't know, and the other party seemed to be stronger than himself, this was not a good feeling. Strange felt that maybe he should learn the divination department of magic. Was it because of my zodiac sign that I went out today, or was it because of my zodiac sign conflict? It seemed that everything was not going well. "Okay, Roma, you seem to have scared Strange. I didn't agree with your so-called test from the beginning. You'd better not scare him anymore." The handsome man spoke. He pressed a woman named Roma and walked in front of Strange to introduce himself. "Hello, Mr. Strange. Although this is the first time we meet, I have heard of your name for a long time. The world's top neurosurgeon. I really didn't expect that you would become a wizard." The man spoke politely, which made people feel good. "Relax, Mr. Strange. We are not bad people. To be precise, we actually have a lot of connections. Ah, look at me. It took me so long to remember that I haven't introduced myself yet." The man tapped his head. "You can call me Brian Braddock. And this one is called Roma Merlin Ambrosius." Brian pointed to the woman next to him and introduced the two names. "Wait!" Exclamation mark. Strange felt like he was hallucinating a little. What did he just hear? What is this woman's name? Roma Merlin Ambrosius? Exclamation mark. And what's the coincidence? This woman is also a wizard? Exclamation mark. She actually used the name of the former supreme sorcerer Merlin Ambrosius, and used Merlin as her middle name? Exclamation mark. Strange looked at Roma in disbelief, while Roma, who looked like a rock girl, chewed bubble gum nonchalantly, and blew a bubble. Poof, the bubble burst. "Wait, is the Merlin you are talking about a Merlin I understand?" Strange felt as if his brain had been severely impacted, and now his thinking was a little chaotic. Because anyone on the magic side of the earth knows a person, that is the legendary supreme sorcerer Merlin in the Middle Ages. As one of the predecessors of the Ancient One, the great wizard Merlin has passed down the most legends and various classics. The wizards of the Greenwich faction he founded are still a powerful force. And no one in the wizard world would put the name of such a legendary wizard in their name. This is both respect and to avoid trouble. What trouble? Of course, it was the trouble of mistaking Fengjing for Ma Liang. If the wizard Merlin had a very powerful enemy, he would use methods such as name divination to locate Merlin's location. Then determine whether there is magic fluctuation at this location. If you happen to be a wizard and also called Merlin, then I'm sorry, it is very likely that a foreign demon will kill you and chop you in two with one knife. You won't even have anyone to cry to when you die. So in the wizard world, try not to take the same name as those peerless strong men. According to Eastern theory, if you take such a name, you will be affected by the karma of the strong. If you can bear the karma, you will gain, and if you can't bear it, it will be a disaster. So any rational wizard will not add the names of people like Merlin and Ancient One to his own name. But the woman in front of him is different. Not only did she take Merlin as her middle name, but her last name was also the same as Merlin, Ambrosius. So Strange thought of a very unlikely possibility. He pointed at Roma and said, "What is your relationship with Master Merlin?" He now seriously suspected that Roma was the descendant of Master Merlin. Otherwise, who would name him like this? And the magic of the Master's hand was invented by Master Merlin. Maybe the Ambrosius family has some secrets that can better control the magic of the Master's hand? Maybe it was because of this little trick that Roma was able to easily break his magic just now. Brian spread his hands and said to Roma, "Look, I told you. He will know your origins when he hears your name. There is no need to use the illusion just now." Roma blew bubble gum, and the bubble gum broke again. She spoke, "Okay, Strange. Since you asked sincerely, I will be merciful and tell you. My name is Roma Merlin Ambrosius." "That's right, the daughter of the man with the long and stupid beard," Roma said impatiently. "She's Merlin's daughter, no wonder." Strange thought that was the case, but after thinking about it carefully, he felt that something was not right. Wait. Master Merlin has been dead for hundreds of years, right? Are you 25? Strange looked at the rock girl, his face full of disbelief. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.